What if the hyperbolic time chamber's door was destroyed while Goku trained inside, trapping him for thousands of years? While only days passed on Earth, Goku experienced millennia of isolation in the white void, his mind breaking under the weight of endless solitude. The hero who once protected Earth would emerge, transformed by madness and rage, viewing his abandonment as the ultimate betrayal. This complete timeline rewrite shows how one accident during the Cell Saga cascades through every major battle, turning Earth's greatest defender into its most dangerous threat. Starting strong with Saga 1, the moment where the what-if story truly begins, the Cell Saga Divergence. In the original timeline, future Trunks arrived from a devastated future to warn everyone about androids 17 and 18. He told Goku that, in his timeline, these mechanical warriors had killed all the Z-Fighters and terrorized Earth for over a decade. Trunks gave Goku medicine for a heart virus that would have killed him, then returned to his own time after helping defeat Mecha Frieza and King Cold. The Z-Fighters trained for 3 years, preparing for the android threat. When the day arrived, Dr. Jiro activated Android 19 first, who fought Goku until the heart virus weakened him mid-battle. Vegeta, now a Super Saiyan from his training, destroyed Android 19 easily. Dr. Gero fled and activated Androids 17 and 18, but these androids killed their creator and proved far stronger than expected. They awakened Android 16, a purely mechanical warrior, and the three set off to find and kill Goku. Meanwhile, another threat emerged. Cell, a bio-android from an alternate future, arrived in this timeline through Trunks' time machine. Cell had been created by Dr. Gero's computer using cells from the greatest fighters, Goku, Vegeta, Piccolo, Frieza, and King Cold. He needed to absorb androids 17 and 18 to reach his perfect form. Cell began absorbing humans across the planet to increase his power, moving from his weak, imperfect form toward his goal. Piccolo fused with Kami to become strong enough to fight Cell, but even this was not enough when Cell absorbed Android 17. Semi-perfect Cell emerged, vastly more powerful than before. Vegeta and Trunks emerged from the hyperbolic time chamber, having trained for a full year inside while only 1 day passed outside. Vegeta had achieved the Super Saiyan second grade form and dominated semi-perfect Cell. However, Vegeta's arrogance led to disaster. He allowed Cell to absorb Android 18, believing he wanted a challenge. Perfect Cell was born, and his power exceeded everyone's expectations. He defeated Vegeta and Trunks easily, then announced the Cell Games would take place in 10 days. This gave the world time to prepare for the tournament that would decide Earth's fate. Goku and Gohan entered the hyperbolic time chamber next. Inside that white void where 1 year passed for every day outside, father and son trained together. Goku pushed Gohan to achieve the Super Saiyan transformation, then taught him to master it. They learned to remain in Super Saiyan form constantly, making it feel natural rather than draining. This mastery, called Super Saiyan Full Power, let them conserve energy and fight at peak efficiency. After nearly a year inside, they exited with 9 days still remaining before the Cell Games. Goku chose to rest rather than continue training, believing they had reached their limit and that rest would serve them better than exhaustion. The Cell Games arrived. Goku fought Cell first, displaying incredible power, but ultimately giving up when he realized he could not win. He shocked everyone by nominating Gohan as Earth's next fighter. Cell began to torture Gohan, trying to draw out the hidden power Goku claimed his son possessed. When Cell created the Cell Juniors to attack Gohan's friends, and when Android 16's head pleaded with Gohan before Cell destroyed it, Gohan's rage exploded. He ascended to Super Saiyan 2, the first person to reach this level. His power completely outclassed Perfect Cell. When Cell tried to self-destruct and take Earth with him, Goku used instant transmission to teleport Cell to King Kai's planet, sacrificing himself in the explosion. Cell survived, returned to Earth even stronger, but Gohan destroyed him with a father-son Kamehameha, vaporizing every last cell. The Z-Fighters wished back everyone Cell had killed, and Earth entered 7 years of peace. But in this alternate timeline, everything changed during those crucial training days in the hyperbolic time chamber. Goku and Gohan entered just as they did before, ready to push beyond their limits. The chamber existed as a separate dimension, accessed through a door on Kami's lookout. Inside, time moved 365 times faster than outside. The environment proved harsh with 10 times Earth's gravity, thin air, and extreme temperature fluctuations. The chamber appeared as an endless white void with a small building at the center containing beds, a bathroom, a kitchen, and enough food for 2 people for 1 year. The door remained the only exit. If that door was destroyed, anyone inside would be trapped forever in that isolated dimension with no way to return to Earth. Goku and Gohan trained intensely in this alternate timeline, just as before. Gohan achieved Super Saiyan after weeks of training, and they worked on mastering the form. They sparred constantly, pushing each other to new heights. Months passed inside, while outside only hours ticked by. Everything proceeded normally until approximately 11 months into their training. They had nearly completed their year and were preparing to exit when disaster struck. A massive earthquake shook the lookout and the outside world. This earthquake, far more severe than any natural disaster Earth had experienced, resulted from the tremendous battle between Piccolo and the androids that escalated beyond control. The shockwave from their clash resonated through dimensions. The hyperbolic time chamber's door, that simple wooden portal connecting two dimensions, cracked under the stress. The dimensional walls, already strained by the unique properties of the chamber, weakened further. Then Cell, in his semi-perfect form, arrived at the lookout, searching for Android 18. His energy signature, a chaotic mixture of multiple fighter cells, created interference with the dimensional barrier. When Cell powered up to his maximum to intimidate everyone at the lookout, his energy surge acted as the final catalyst. The door to the hyperbolic time chamber exploded outward, shards of wood scattering across the lookout's tiles. The dimensional connection severed instantly. Inside the chamber, Goku and Gohan felt the shift immediately. They were near the central building, about to gather their things and exit after a successful training session. Gohan had just perfected maintaining his Super Saiyan form without strain. They sensed the dimensional walls fluctuating, then felt the connection to Earth vanish. Goku rushed to where the door should be, but found only blank white space. The portal had ceased to exist. He tried everything he knew. Instant transmission failed because he could not sense any key signatures beyond the dimensional barrier. The chamber existed outside normal space, completely isolated. He blasted the area where the door had been with Kamehameha waves, but the dimensional walls held firm. Nothing worked. Gohan panicked, fear overwhelming the young boy. He was 11 years old, trapped in an empty void with only his father. Goku tried to stay calm, reassuring his son that their friends would find a way to rescue them. He believed Piccolo, Vegeta, or someone would use the Dragon Balls or find another solution. Days passed in the chamber. They rationed their food, unsure how long rescue would take. Goku continued attempting different techniques to escape, but the dimensional prison held perfectly. Weeks became months. The isolation began to weigh on both of them. The white void stretched endlessly in all directions, offering no variation, no stimulation, nothing but blank space and each other's company. Time moved relentlessly forward in the hyperbolic time chamber. One day outside equaled 1 year inside, but now they had no reference point for outside time. They tried to stay positive, tried to keep training, tried to maintain hope, but as months stretched into years, hope began to crack. Their food ran out after the first year. Starvation threatened, but Goku discovered that the chamber's unique properties meant they could survive on Ki alone, though it caused constant hunger and weakness. They had no choice. They continued surviving, day after day, year after year. Gohan grew up in that white void. He went from an 11-year-old boy to a teenager to a young man, all within the chamber's walls. The isolation damaged him psychologically. He had no books to read, no life beyond training and talking with his father. His social development stopped. His mind, lacking any external stimulation, began to fracture. Goku tried to be strong for his son, tried to keep them both sane, but he felt his own mind deteriorating. The endless white void, the complete lack of anything except emptiness, wore down his spirit year by year. 5 years passed in the chamber, 10 years, 20 years. Still no rescue came. Goku's hope transformed into confusion, then doubt. Why had nobody opened the door? Why had nobody used the Dragon Balls to rescue them? Did their friends even know they were trapped, or had something terrible happened on Earth? The questions tormented him, especially during the long hours when Gohan slept and he sat alone in the infinite white. 50 years passed. Gohan was now physically in his 60s, though he had entered as a child. Goku approached his 90s in terms of time experienced. Their Saiyan biology kept them strong, despite their ages, but their minds suffered far worse than their bodies. The isolation broke Gohan first. Around the 70-year mark, he stopped speaking almost entirely. He would train mechanically, eat when Goku forced him to focus his ki into sustenance, then sit staring into the void for hours. His eyes became hollow. The son Goku had loved, the boy with such potential, had become a shell. This devastated Goku more than the isolation itself. He had failed to protect his son from this fate. 100 years passed. 200 years. Goku stopped counting after 300 years. Time lost all meaning in the endless white. He trained constantly because it gave him something to do, some purpose in the meaningless void. His power grew far beyond anything he had imagined possible. He achieved Super Saiyan 2 through sheer determination. Then Super Saiyan 3, though the form drained him terribly. He pushed beyond even that, exploring variations in mastery that required centuries to develop. But his mind degraded with each passing century. The Goku who had been pure-hearted, who had loved fighting for the joy of it, who had treasured his friends and family, slowly died in that isolation. New thoughts grew in the darkness of his deteriorating psyche. Why had nobody saved them? 500 years had passed inside the chamber. Even if rescue was difficult, surely, in all that time, someone could have found a solution, unless they had not tried. Unless they had abandoned him deliberately. The thought took root and grew like a cancer. His friends had always relied on him to save them. Every time Earth faced danger, they called for Goku. When Raditz came, when the Saiyans invaded, when Frieza threatened Namek, when the androids appeared, it was always Goku they needed. But when Goku needed them, when he and his son were trapped and helpless, where were they? 1,000 years passed in the chamber. Gohan had long since lost his sanity completely. He no longer recognized his father, living in a catatonic state where he barely moved. Goku kept him alive through will alone, feeding him energy, forcing him to maintain his ki. But Gohan's mind had shattered beyond repair. Looking at his son's empty eyes, Goku felt something dark awaken in his heart. Rage. Pure, burning rage at the friends who had abandoned them. 1,500 years, 2,000 years, Goku's power had ascended to godly levels through the endless training. He had mastered Super Saiyan 3 to the point where he could maintain it indefinitely. He had developed new techniques, new transformations, new ways to manipulate his ki. But each increase in power came with a decrease in his sanity. The isolation had warped his mind completely. He no longer remembered clearly what his friends looked like. He struggled to recall their names sometimes, but the rage remained crystal clear. They had betrayed him. They had left him to suffer for what felt like eternity. Around the 3,000-year mark, something changed. Goku felt a fluctuation in the dimensional barrier. Someone was accessing the chamber from outside. After 3 millennia of isolation, after his mind had been shattered and rebuilt into something dark, rescue finally came. But the Goku who had entered the chamber no longer existed. The being who sensed that dimensional shift was something else entirely, something forged in isolation and rage, something that blamed the outside world for his torment. The door began to reform as someone on Earth, likely Dende, who had become the new guardian, reconstructed the damaged chamber. Goku walked toward the reforming portal, with Gohan's catatonic form floating beside him, held aloft by Goku's ki. 3,000 years of memories flooded through his fractured mind. 3,000 years of abandonment, 3,000 years of betrayal. As the door solidified and opened, revealing Dende's shocked face on the other side, Goku stepped through. Only 3 days had passed on Earth since the door had exploded. 72 hours. The Z-Fighters stood at the lookout, having just finished defeating Semi-Perfect Cell and forcing him to flee. They had won without Goku, proving they did not actually need him after all. Dende gasped when he saw what emerged from the chamber. Goku's appearance had changed drastically. His gi hung in tatters, degraded by millennia of wear. His body, while still muscular, seemed harder somehow, like stone that had been weathered by endless time. But his eyes showed the real change. They held no warmth, no joy, no recognition. Only cold rage and madness swirled in those black depths. Behind him floated Gohan, alive but clearly damaged beyond recognition, his eyes vacant and staring at nothing. Piccolo stepped forward, relief flooding his features. Goku, Gohan, thank the Kami, you're alive. We've been trying to repair the chamber for 3 days, but... 3 days. The words hit Goku like a physical blow. 3 days outside, 3,000 years inside. They thought 3 days was a long time to wait? His ki erupted without warning, a golden aura exploding around him as he transformed into Super Saiyan 3 instantly. His hair grew down his back, his eyebrows vanished, and his power level skyrocketed so high that everyone at the lookout fell to their knees from the pressure. Piccolo's words died in his throat as he felt the overwhelming energy. This was Goku, but the power seemed wrong somehow, tainted with something dark. Vegeta, who had also been at the lookout, struggled against the pressure to look up at his rival. He saw the expression on Goku's face and felt fear for the first time in years. That was not the Goku he knew. 3 days. Goku spoke, his voice rough from millennia of screaming into the void. You made me wait 3,000 years, for 3 days. The statement made no sense to anyone present. Piccolo tried to explain, tried to tell him about the time dilation, but Goku was not listening. His fractured mind could not process explanations, could not accept that his friends had tried their best, could not forgive the perceived abandonment. His power surged higher, and the lookout began to crack under the strain. Mr. Popo rushed forward, trying to calm him, but Goku's hand shot out. A ki blast, casual and effortless, vaporized Mr. Popo before anyone could react. The loyal attendant of the lookout, who had served for centuries, ceased to exist. The Z-Fighters stared in horror. Goku had just killed Mr. Popo without hesitation. This could not be their friend, their comrade, their strongest fighter. Vegeta powered up to Super Saiyan, readying himself for battle. Trunks did the same. Piccolo prepared his strongest attacks, but they were insects before a god. Goku's 3,000 years of training had taken him far beyond anything they could imagine. He moved faster than their eyes could track, appearing before Vegeta. One punch shattered every bone in Vegeta's body, sending him crashing through the lookout's floor and plummeting toward the earth below. Trunks tried to defend his father, but suffered the same fate. Piccolo's special beam cannon, charged with all his power, struck Goku directly. The beam, capable of piercing through any defense, shattered against Goku's aura without leaving a mark. Dende pleaded with Goku, begging him to stop, explaining that they had not abandoned him on purpose. But Goku's shattered mind heard only excuses, only lies to cover their betrayal. He grabbed Dende by the throat, lifting the young Namekian off the ground. For a moment, something flickered in Goku's eyes, a memory of kindness, of protecting the innocent. But 3,000 years of isolation had burned away that gentleness. He threw Dende aside, not killing him, but making it clear that mercy was the most he would offer. The lookout lay in ruins. Goku descended to Earth, Gohan's body still floating behind him in its catatonic state. As he flew down toward the planet's surface, he sensed the key signatures of everyone he had once called friend. Chi-Chi was at Capsule Corp with Bulma. Krillin was at Kame House. Yamcha, Tien, and Chiaotzu were scattered across the planet. They had all continued living their lives while he had suffered. Landing in an empty field, Goku stood motionless for long minutes. His mind warred with itself, fragments of his old personality struggling against the monster that isolation had created. He remembered loving these people, remembered fighting beside them, remembered protecting Earth because it was his home, but those memories felt distant, like they belonged to someone else. The immediate reality was 3,000 years of abandonment, 3,000 years of watching his son's mind break, 3,000 years of betrayal. His decision crystallized. If they would not save him, if they viewed him as nothing more than a tool to use when convenient, then he would show them the consequences of abandoning their strongest warrior. The hero, Goku, had died in the hyperbolic time chamber. What emerged was something new, something dangerous. Earth's greatest defender had become its ultimate threat. If you're blown away by how different this timeline is becoming, make sure to subscribe because we're just getting started with this complete series reimagining. Moving on to the second saga of our What If timeline, the Shattered World Saga. In the original timeline, the Cell games would have proceeded very differently. After Goku and Gohan completed their training in the hyperbolic time chamber and rested for 9 days, they arrived at the Cell games arena. Goku fought Cell first, showcasing his mastered Super Saiyan form and incredible techniques. He performed well enough to surprise Cell with his power, but ultimately Goku realized he could not defeat Perfect Cell. He surrendered and shocked everyone by nominating Gohan as the next fighter. Cell, curious about this decision, began to torment Gohan to draw out the hidden power Goku mentioned. He created 7 Cell Juniors who attacked the Z-Fighters brutally. When Android 16's severed head encouraged Gohan to release his anger, and Cell crushed it, Gohan's rage finally exploded. He ascended to Super Saiyan 2, the first person to achieve this transformation. His power completely dominated Cell. Every attack Cell threw was useless. Gohan broke Cell's arm with casual ease and destroyed the Cell Juniors in seconds. Desperate, Cell tried to self-destruct and take Earth with him. Goku used instant transmission to teleport Cell to King Kai's planet, sacrificing himself in the massive explosion. But Cell survived and returned to Earth even stronger through his Saiyan Cell's Zenkai boost. In the final battle, Gohan and Cell locked in a beam struggle with their Kamehameha waves. Vegeta distracted Cell with a ki blast, giving Gohan the opening to overpower Cell completely. The father-son Kamehameha vaporized every last cell of the bio-android. They used the Dragon Balls to revive everyone Cell had killed, and Goku chose to remain dead, believing his presence attracted powerful enemies to Earth. The world entered 7 years of peace. But in this shattered timeline, peace would never come. Goku stood in that empty field, his mind broken after 3 millennia of isolation, his son floating catatonic beside him. The Z-Fighters lay scattered and defeated. Cell still existed somewhere on the planet, growing stronger by absorbing humans. And Earth's greatest defender had become something far more terrifying than any villain they had faced. The news spread quickly through the remaining fighters' communication network. Bulma received word from Dende, who had barely survived the encounter at the lookout. She immediately contacted everyone, her voice shaking with fear and disbelief. Goku had returned, but something was horribly wrong. He had attacked them without provocation, killed Mr. Popo, and nearly killed Vegeta and Trunks. Krillin flew to Capsule Corp immediately, his heart refusing to believe what he heard. Goku was his best friend, his training partner since childhood. There had to be some mistake. Chi-Chi's reaction was different. When she heard that Goku had returned but hurt their friends, she demanded to see him immediately. Nobody could stop her. She took a Capsule Corp aircraft and flew toward the coordinates where Goku had last been sensed. Bulma tried to talk her out of it, explaining the danger, but Chi-Chi would not listen. Her husband and son had been trapped for 3 days, and now Goku was acting strange. She believed she could reach him when others could not. She found him in a valley far from any city. Goku stood motionless, staring at nothing. Gohan floated nearby, his vacant eyes and slack expression making Chi-Chi's blood run cold. She landed the aircraft and ran toward them, calling out their names. Goku turned to face her, and Chi-Chi stopped running. The man before her wore her husband's face, but his eyes held nothing she recognized. No warmth, no love, only emptiness and rage. She approached slowly, her voice gentle, as she called his name. She asked what had happened in the chamber, asked if he was all right, asked him to please explain so she could help. Goku watched her speak, his fractured mind processing her words slowly. This was his wife. He remembered marrying her, remembered their life together. But those memories felt like they belonged to someone else, someone who had died 3,000 years ago. When Chi-Chi reached out to touch his face, Goku caught her wrist. His grip, even restrained, made her wince in pain. He spoke in that rough, damaged voice about time and betrayal and abandonment. His words made no sense to Chi-Chi, talking about thousands of years when he had only been gone 3 days. She tried to explain the time difference, tried to make him understand, but Goku's broken mind could not process it properly. In his perception, he had suffered for millennia while everyone else lived normally. To him, their failure to rescue him sooner was unforgivable. He released Chi-Chi's wrist and turned away. She was not worth his rage. She had not been part of the Z Fighters, had not claimed to be his friend and ally while abandoning him. He told her to leave and take Gohan to safety. When she protested, when she tried to insist she would not abandon him again, his power flared. The golden aura of Super Saiyan 3 erupted around him, and the shockwave threw Chi-Chi backward into her aircraft. The message was clear. She fled with tears streaming down her face, unable to reach the man she loved. Meanwhile, Vegeta had recovered enough to speak, though his body remained broken. Senzu beans had run low, and the last few went to keeping him and Trunks alive. He lay in a medical bed at Capsule Corp, rage burning in his eyes as he processed what had happened. Kakarot had defeated him with one punch. One single punch had ended their rivalry in the most humiliating way possible. But beyond his pride, Vegeta felt something else. Fear. He had sensed Goku's power level during that brief exchange. The number was incomprehensible. Whatever had happened in that chamber had transformed Goku into something beyond a Super Saiyan, beyond anything Vegeta had imagined possible. Piccolo gathered the remaining fighters to discuss their options. Krillin, Yamcha, Tien, and Chiaotzu listened as Piccolo explained the situation. They could not defeat Goku in direct combat. His power exceeded all of theirs combined by an impossible margin, but they could not simply let him rampage across Earth either. They needed to find a way to reach him, to break through whatever madness had consumed him. Yamcha suggested using the Dragon Balls to wish him back to normal, but Piccolo explained that the Dragon Balls could not affect someone stronger than their creator. Goku's power now far exceeded Dende's, making that option useless. Tien proposed they try to trap him somehow, perhaps using the Mafuba technique to seal him away. But Piccolo pointed out that the Mafuba required them to get close enough to perform it, and none of them could survive getting that close to an enraged Goku. Their discussion was interrupted by a familiar energy signature appearing nearby. Cell had arrived at Capsule Corp, drawn by the concentration of powerful key signatures. But this Cell seemed different. He had not absorbed Android 18 yet, remaining in his semi-perfect form, but his power had grown substantially from absorbing countless humans over the past 3 days. He landed outside the building, his tail swishing behind him as he announced his presence. The Z-Fighters rushed outside to confront him. Cell smiled his horrible smile, pleased to find so many of his genetic donors gathered in one place. He had come to absorb Android 18 and achieve his perfect form, but finding the Z-Fighters here was an unexpected bonus. He could kill them first, then take his time hunting the android. Piccolo stepped forward, ready to fight despite knowing they were outmatched. But before the battle could begin, everyone felt it, a massive power level, approaching rapidly. Goku had sensed Cell's energy and recognized it from the genetic memories in his own body. Cell was part of him in a way, created using his cells along with others. The bio-android represented another enemy, another threat, another problem that the Z-Fighters had failed to handle without him. Goku appeared in the sky above Capsule Corp, his Super Saiyan 3 form blazing with golden energy. Cell looked up and his confident smile faltered. The power radiating from this person was beyond anything he had calculated in his programming. Even Perfect Cell's projected power level seemed small compared to what he sensed from this transformed Saiyan. Goku descended slowly, landing between Cell and the Z-Fighters. He did not acknowledge his former friends. His eyes locked onto Cell, studying the bio-android with clinical detachment. Cell tried to speak, tried to introduce himself and explain his purpose, but Goku was not interested in conversation. He moved. One moment he stood still, the next he was in front of Cell with his fist buried in the bio-android's stomach. Cell's eyes bulged in shock and agony as the punch lifted him off his feet. Before he could even process what had happened, Goku grabbed his tail and swung him into the ground with such force that a crater formed beneath Cell's body. The semi-perfect android tried to regenerate, tried to use his Namekian cells to heal the damage, but Goku's hand clamped around his throat. The Z-Fighters watched in stunned silence as Goku slowly crushed Cell's neck. The bio-android thrashed and fired ki blasts directly into Goku's face at point-blank range. The explosions accomplished nothing. Goku's skin did not even bruise. His free hand gathered energy, a yellow ball of ki forming in his palm. He placed it against Cell's chest and released the blast. The explosion consumed Cell's upper body, destroying his head and most of his torso. But Cell's core remained intact, buried deep in his abdomen, and his cells began regenerating immediately. Goku ripped the regenerating mass apart with his bare hands, searching for the core. Cell's biology, programmed with survival instincts from multiple fighters, recognized the threat. The core ejected itself from the remains and flew upward at maximum speed, trying to escape. Goku let it go. He was not interested in hunting Cell. His point had been made. Turning to face the Z-Fighters, Goku spoke for the first time since arriving. He told them that he had just saved them from Cell, something they clearly could not do themselves. He had protected them once again, just like always. But he was done being their protector. Done being the one they called whenever danger appeared. If they wanted to survive in this universe, they would need to do it without him. Krillin stepped forward, his voice pleading as he called out to his old friend. He tried to explain what had happened, tried to make Goku understand that they had not abandoned him on purpose. The chamber door had been destroyed accidentally during the battle with the androids. They had worked non-stop for 3 days to repair it. They had tried their best to save him, but Goku's broken mind twisted these explanations into excuses. 3 days seemed like nothing compared to 3,000 years of suffering. Their efforts seemed pathetic compared to what he had endured. His power flared again, forcing everyone back. He told them he would not kill them today. They were not worth the effort. But if they came after him, if they tried to stop him or make him be their hero again, he would show no mercy. Earth could defend itself from now on. He had paid his debt to this planet 1,000 times over during his isolation. With those words, Goku flew away, heading toward the wilderness, far from civilization. The Z-Fighters stood in shocked silence, processing what had just occurred. Their strongest warrior had abandoned them. Worse, he had become a potential enemy, someone they would need to fight if he truly went on a rampage. Vegeta, listening from inside Capsule Corp through an open window, felt his pride warring with practical reality. He needed to get stronger. The hyperbolic time chamber was still available, recently repaired by Dende. He could enter and train for a year, maybe 2 years if he pushed the limits. Perhaps with enough time, he could close the gap between himself and Kakarot. Trunks supported his father's plan. Together they could enter the chamber and train as a team, pushing each other to new heights just as they had before. Piccolo agreed it was their best option. He would enter afterward, then Krillin, then anyone else who could benefit from the time dilation. They needed to prepare for the possibility that Goku would not recover from his madness. The next few weeks became a blur of desperate training. Vegeta and Trunks entered the chamber first, determined to achieve Super Saiyan 2 and beyond. Outside, Piccolo and the others searched for Cell's core. The bio-android had survived Goku's attack and gone into hiding, regenerating slowly from his injuries. Without Goku to protect them, Cell represented a serious threat they could not ignore. They found him in a remote mountain range, his body mostly regenerated, but his power weakened from the near-death experience. Piccolo fought him with support from Krillin and Tien, but Cell was still too strong. He was about to absorb Piccolo when Goku appeared again. The pattern repeated itself. Goku would sense a major threat, arrive, and eliminate it with casual efficiency. He saved the Z-Fighters from Cell a second time, destroying more of the bio-android's body and forcing him to flee again. But Goku made it clear each time that he was not doing this for them. He simply would not allow threats to run wild on Earth, not because he cared about protecting people, but because it annoyed him. His reasoning made little sense to anyone, but they dared not question him. Each appearance showed more of his deteriorating mental state. Sometimes he would stand in one place for hours, staring at nothing. Other times he would destroy entire mountains in sudden fits of rage, obliterating landscapes with single ki blasts. Chi-Chi tried to reach him multiple times, but each attempt failed. Goku barely acknowledged her presence, treating her like a stranger. When she brought Gohan, Hoping the sight of his son might trigger something in him, Goku simply stared at the catatonic boy with empty eyes. 3,000 years had burned away his ability to feel normal emotions. A month passed. Vegeta and Trunks emerged from the hyperbolic time chamber, having trained for a full year inside. Both had achieved Super Saiyan 2, their power increased dramatically. Vegeta's pride burned brighter than ever, convinced he could now challenge Kakarot. Trunks tried to talk him out of it, warning that even with their new strength, they might not be enough, but Vegeta would not listen. He tracked Goku to a remote island and challenged him to a fight. Goku, sitting on a cliff overlooking the ocean, barely looked at Vegeta when he arrived. The Saiyan Prince powered up to Super Saiyan 2, his lightning-wreathed aura crackling with energy as he demanded Kakarot face him in battle. For a moment, Goku said nothing. Then he stood, turned to face Vegeta, and transformed into Super Saiyan 3 inches an instant. The power gap was still incomprehensible. Vegeta attacked anyway, his pride overwhelming his survival instinct. He threw everything he had at Goku, every technique he had perfected over the year in the chamber, every ounce of power in his body. His final flash, charged to maximum capacity, struck Goku directly and lit up the sky with golden energy. When the light faded, Goku stood in the same position, completely unharmed. He had not even bothered to dodge. Vegeta's strongest attack had accomplished nothing. Goku moved then, appearing behind Vegeta, faster than the prince could react. One chop to the back of Vegeta's neck knocked him unconscious, instantly. Goku caught his rival's falling body and flew him back to Capsule Corp, dropping him on the lawn before disappearing again. The message was clear. Vegeta was no threat to him. This defeat broke something in Vegeta's spirit. For the first time in his life, he faced an opponent he could never hope to defeat, no matter how hard he trained. The gap was too vast, created by thousands of years of training that Vegeta could never replicate. He fell into a depression, refusing to eat or train for days. Bulma tried to comfort him, but nothing helped. Meanwhile, Cell continued to cause problems. The bio-android had finally cornered Android 18, absorbing her to achieve his perfect form. The transformation put his power on par with Super Saiyan 2, making him incredibly dangerous. Perfect Cell announced his own tournament, the Cell Games, scheduled for 1 week. He challenged anyone brave enough to face him, confident that without Goku fighting for Earth, nobody could stop him. The Z fighters gathered to discuss their options. They could not rely on Goku to save them from Cell. They needed to handle this themselves. Piccolo entered the hyperbolic time chamber next, training with intense focus for a full year. When he emerged, his power had increased substantially, though he had not achieved any new transformations. Gohan still lived in his catatonic state, cared for by Chi-Chi, who refused to give up on her son. She brought in doctors and therapists, but none could help. Whatever had happened to Gohan in the chamber had broken his mind beyond any medical treatment. The Cell Games arrived. Perfect Cell had created an arena in a rocky wasteland, and the Z-Fighters arrived to face him. Vegeta, Trunks, Piccolo, Tien, Yamcha, and Krillin stood together, knowing they might all die but refusing to abandon Earth. Cell mocked them, asking where their Saiyan hero was. When they explained that Goku had abandoned them, Cell laughed. The irony was perfect. Earth's greatest defender had turned his back on the planet, leaving them helpless against Cell. The battle began poorly. Even with their increased power, none of them could match Perfect Cell. He toyed with them, enjoying their struggles. Vegeta's Super Saiyan 2 form put up a decent fight, but Cell's perfect body, combining the best traits of multiple fighters, proved superior. Trunks fought alongside his father but suffered the same fate. Piccolo's stretching arms and regeneration gave him some advantage but not enough. One by one, Cell beat them down. He was preparing to kill Vegeta with a powerful ki blast when everyone sensed it, that overwhelming power approaching rapidly. Goku had sensed the battle and decided to intervene. He appeared in the arena, still in his base form, and walked toward Cell. The bio-android studied this newcomer with interest. His programming recognized the genetic patterns. This was one of his donors, one of the fighters whose cells made up his being. Cell welcomed the challenge, confident his perfect form could handle anyone. He attacked first, moving at blinding speed to strike Goku with a powerful punch. Goku caught the fist effortlessly, his expression empty as he looked at Cell. The bio-android's smile faded as he realized his full power punch had been stopped with no effort. Goku transformed into Super Saiyan 3, and the power that erupted made Cell stumble backward in shock. This was beyond anything his programming had calculated, beyond anything that should be possible. Goku moved, and Cell could not track him. Punches landed from every direction, each one breaking bones and rupturing organs. Cell tried to regenerate, but Goku was destroying him faster than his Namekian cells could heal. In desperation, Cell expanded his energy and prepared to self-destruct. If he was going to die, he would take the whole planet with him. But Goku had seen this technique in his genetic memory. He knew what Cell was planning before Cell did. His hand pressed against Cell's core, and energy gathered there. The ki blast that followed was controlled, precise, and absolutely devastating. It burned through Cell's core, destroying the regenerative nucleus that kept him alive. Cell's body began to disintegrate, his cells breaking down as the core failed. His last words were a question, asking who Goku was, what he had become to achieve such impossible power. Goku did not answer. He simply watched as Cell crumbled to dust and blew away in the wind. The Cell games ended before they had truly begun. The Z fighters lay scattered across the arena, injured but alive. They expected Goku to leave immediately, to disappear back into the wilderness. Instead, he turned to face them. His voice, rough and damaged, spoke words that made their blood run cold. He told them that he had saved them again, twice from Cell now, and from countless other threats over the years. Every time they faced danger, they called for him. Every time they were outmatched, they relied on him. But where were they when he needed saving? Where were they during those 3,000 years of suffering? Krillin tried to protest, tried to explain again that only 3 days had passed outside, but Goku's fractured mind could not accept it. In his perception, the time experienced was what mattered. He had lived through millennia of isolation while they lived normal lives. That was reality to him. He told them that he was done being their savior, done being the hero they relied on. From now on, Earth would face its threats alone. If they all died, that was the consequence of their weakness. His words crushed their spirits more than any physical attack could have. Vegeta, barely conscious, heard everything and felt shame mixing with his rage. Piccolo tried to reach Goku one final time, reminding him of all the good times they had shared, all the battles they had fought together as friends and allies. But Goku's response was cold. Those memories belonged to a different person, someone who had died in the hyperbolic time chamber. The being before them now was forged in isolation and abandonment. He was what they had created by failing to rescue him. Goku flew away, leaving them broken and defeated in the Cell Games arena. The Earth had been saved from Cell, but at what cost? Their greatest hero had become their greatest source of fear. In the weeks that followed, society tried to return to normal. The media reported that Cell had been defeated by mysterious fighters, but nobody knew the full truth. The Z fighters kept Goku's condition secret, not wanting to cause widespread panic. Chi-Chi continued caring for Gohan, hoping desperately that her son might somehow recover. Vegeta slowly emerged from his depression, but his spirit remained damaged. He accepted that he could never surpass Kakarot now, a truth that burned like acid in his soul. The world moved forward, but the Z fighters knew this was not over. Goku remained out there somewhere, a ticking time bomb of godlike power and shattered sanity. And eventually, 7 years from now, they would face an even greater threat that would test whether Earth could truly survive without its greatest hero fighting for them. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this breakdown. Moving on to the third saga of our What If timeline, the Majin Buu saga. In the original timeline, 7 years of peace followed Cell's defeat. During this time, Earth rebuilt and life returned to normal. Gohan, now 17 years old, attended Orange Star High School in Satan City. He tried to live a normal life, but ended up becoming the masked hero Great Saiyaman to fight crime while protecting his identity. Goku remained dead in Otherworld, where he trained and even achieved Super Saiyan 3 while watching over his family from the afterlife. Goten, Gohan's younger brother, was born shortly after Cell's defeat and grew up never knowing his father. Chi-Chi raised him while Gohan focused on his studies, though Goten showed incredible fighting talent even as a child. Vegeta stayed on Earth with Bulma and their son Trunks, training occasionally but mostly living as a family man, though his pride still burned regarding his rivalry with Goku. The World Martial Arts Tournament brought everyone together after 7 years. Goku was granted one day to return to Earth by King Yemma as a reward for saving the universe multiple times. The Z fighters gathered to compete, excited to see Goku again and to showcase the new generation of fighters. During the tournament, 2 mysterious figures appeared, named Supreme Kai and his attendant Kibito. They revealed that an evil wizard named Babidi had come to Earth to resurrect Majin Buu, an ancient demon who had destroyed hundreds of planets and killed 4 Supreme Kais millennia ago. Babidi needed energy to break the seal on Buu's egg, and he sent his warriors to collect it by making fighters battle each other. Supreme Kai recruited the Z fighters to stop Babidi before Buu could be released. They tracked Babidi to his spaceship hidden beneath the tournament grounds. His strongest warriors included Pui Pui, Yakon, and Dabura, the king of the demon world. Vegeta, Goku, and Gohan fought these enemies while descending through the ship's levels. But Babidi had another plan. He sensed the darkness in Vegeta's heart, his jealousy toward Goku, and his desire for power. Babidi took control of Vegeta, transforming him into Majin Vegeta with a power boost and the Majin symbol on his forehead. Vegeta allowed this to happen willingly, wanting the power increase and the excuse to finally settle his rivalry with Goku without holding back. Majin Vegeta and Goku fought, their battle providing enough energy to break Buu's seal. Majin Buu emerged, a pink blob-like creature with childish behavior but devastating power. He killed Babidi's strongest warriors easily and proved nearly impossible to damage due to his rubber-like body and regeneration. Vegeta realized his mistake and tried to stop Buu with a suicide attack called Final Explosion, sacrificing himself in a massive blast that destroyed his body, but Buu regenerated from a single piece and survived. Goku taught Goten and Trunks the fusion dance technique, allowing them to combine into Gotenks. This fusion had a time limit of 30 minutes, but gave them incredible power. They trained in the hyperbolic time chamber and achieved Super Saiyan 3 as Gotenks. Meanwhile, Buu had split into two beings after expelling his evil half. Evil Buu absorbed Good Buu and became Super Buu, a more violent and intelligent version. Gotenks fought Super Buu, but the fusion ran out before they could win. Gohan was taken to the Supreme Kai's planet where Old Kai, an ancient Supreme Kai, performed a ritual that unlocked all of Gohan's hidden potential. This ultimate Gohan form made him the strongest fighter, surpassing even Super Saiyan 3. He returned to Earth and dominated Super Buu effortlessly, but Buu absorbed Gotenks and Piccolo, gaining their power and techniques. When Gotenks' fusion wore off inside Buu, he absorbed Gohan instead, becoming even stronger. Goku and Vegeta, who had been revived temporarily, fused using the Potara earrings to become Vegito. This fusion was permanent and created a warrior strong enough to toy with Super Buu even after he absorbed Gohan. But Vegito allowed himself to be absorbed to rescue their friends from inside Buu's body. Inside, they freed everyone, and Buu reverted to his original form, Kid Buu, the purest and most dangerous version. Kid Buu destroyed Earth immediately, killing everyone except those protected by the Supreme Kais. The battle moved to the Supreme Kai's planet. Vegeta bought time, while Goku gathered energy for a spirit bomb, a technique that collected energy from all living things, with help from Mr. Satan, who convinced Earth's people to donate their energy, and Vegeta's distraction. Goku gathered enough power. The spirit bomb destroyed Kid Buu completely. The Dragon Balls restored Earth and revived everyone who had died. Goku returned to life permanently through a wish. The world entered another era of peace, with Goku training Oob, the reincarnation of Kid Buu, 10 years later. But in this alternate timeline, those 7 years of peace were anything but peaceful. Gohan never attended high school. He remained in his catatonic state, trapped in whatever nightmare his broken mind had created during those 3,000 years of isolation. Chi-Chi cared for him daily, feeding him, bathing him, talking to him, even though he never responded. She never gave up hope that her son might return to her someday. Goten was still born, conceived before Goku entered the hyperbolic time chamber. He grew up knowing his father was alive, but never met him. Chi-Chi refused to let Goten near Goku, terrified of what the broken Saiyan might do to another son. The boy trained with Piccolo and Krillin instead, showing natural talent but lacking the guidance only a father could provide. The Z-Fighters spent those 7 years preparing for threats without Goku's help. They knew they could not rely on him anymore. Vegeta trained obsessively, pushing himself harder than ever before, but the memory of his effortless defeat haunted him. He achieved Super Saiyan 2 mastery and began exploring Super Saiyan 3, though the form proved incredibly difficult and draining. Trunks trained alongside his father, the two growing closer through their shared struggle. Piccolo meditated and trained, seeking any edge he could find. Krillin, Yamcha, Tien, and Chiaotzu all improved their skills, knowing they were Earth's only defense now. Goku remained in the wilderness, moving from place to place across the planet. Sometimes people spotted him in remote areas, a wild-looking man with long hair who avoided all contact. Other times, months would pass without any sighting. His power could be sensed occasionally when he trained, brief spikes of energy that reminded everyone he still existed. The few times threats appeared during those 7 years, natural disasters or occasional evil fighters, Goku would appear suddenly to eliminate the danger before vanishing again. He never spoke to anyone during these interventions. He simply removed the threat and left. Chi-Chi tried to reach him multiple times over the years, hoping time might heal his fractured mind. She would travel to areas where he had been spotted, calling out his name, begging him to come home. A few times she caught glimpses of him watching her from a distance, but he never approached, never spoke. The man she loved was gone, replaced by this hollow shell who only knew isolation and betrayal. The pain of this reality broke her heart repeatedly, but she continued trying. She believed somewhere deep inside, the real Goku still existed. The World Martial Arts Tournament announcement changed everything. Mr. Satan, who had taken credit for defeating Cell 7 years ago, promoted the tournament heavily. The prize money attracted fighters from across the world. Supreme Kai sensed the event and recognized it as the perfect opportunity to gather Earth's strongest fighters. He had detected Babidi's presence on the planet and knew the wizard planned to use the tournament to collect energy for reviving Majin Buu. The Z fighters decided to participate, hoping to draw Goku out of hiding. If Supreme Kai's warnings about Babidi and Buu proved true, they would need all the help they could get. Vegeta registered under a fake name. Piccolo entered despite not caring about the prize. Krillin joined for old time's sake. Goten and Trunks registered in the junior division, excited to test their skills. Supreme Kai and Kibito registered as well, though their true purpose remained hidden initially. The tournament day arrived with massive crowds filling the stadium. The junior division fights happened first, with Trunks and Goten dominating every opponent easily. Their speed and power shocked the audience, who could barely see their movements. In the finals, the two boys fought each other seriously for the first time. Both transformed into Super Saiyans mid-match, revealing their golden hair and incredible energy to the stunned crowd. Mr. Satan, watching from his special booth, nearly fainted seeing children achieve the legendary transformation he had only heard about in stories. Trunks won the junior championship by a narrow margin, his slight edge and strength giving him victory. The adult division began next. The preliminary rounds eliminated weaker fighters until only the serious competitors remained. Vegeta destroyed his opponents with casual ease, not even bothering to power up beyond his base form. Piccolo did the same, his superior skill making human martial artists look like children. Supreme Kai moved through his matches carefully, hiding his true power while advancing. Everything proceeded normally until everyone suddenly felt it. That overwhelming presence approaching the stadium rapidly. Goku had come. He landed in the arena's center, ignoring the screaming crowd and confused announcers. His appearance had changed over 7 years of isolation. His gi hung in tatters, barely covering his scarred and weathered body. His hair remained long and wild, falling past his shoulders, but his eyes held the same emptiness they had shown 7 years ago. He looked at the gathered fighters and spoke in that rough, damaged voice. He asked if strong opponents had gathered here. He wanted to fight. The tournament officials tried to explain he needed to register, needed to follow the rules, but Goku ignored them completely. Supreme Kai stepped forward, his divine energy radiating as he revealed his identity as a Supreme Kai, a god who ruled over galaxies. He explained that an evil wizard threatened Earth, and they needed Goku's help to stop him. Goku studied Supreme Kai with empty eyes. Gods, wizards, threats to Earth, none of it mattered to him. He had come only because he sensed strong fighters gathering in one place. He wanted to test himself against them, nothing else. Supreme Kai tried to appeal to his heroic nature, tried to remind him that innocent people would die if Babidi succeeded, but those words meant nothing to the broken Saiyan. Vegeta interrupted, stepping into the arena to face Goku directly. 7 years had passed since their last fight, 7 years of training and preparation. He challenged Kakarot to battle, his pride demanding he prove himself despite knowing the gap between them. Goku turned his empty gaze toward Vegeta and transformed into Super Saiyan 3 instantly. The golden energy exploded outward, the stadium's walls cracking from the pressure. Vegeta powered up to Super Saiyan 2, his lightning wreath aura flaring as he launched himself forward. The battle lasted 15 seconds. Vegeta threw every technique he had perfected over 7 years, every bit of speed and power he possessed. But Goku moved through the attacks like they were nothing. One punch to Vegeta's stomach lifted the prince off his feet. One kick sent him crashing through the stadium wall into the parking lot beyond. When Vegeta tried to rise for another attack, Goku appeared above him and delivered a chop to his neck that rendered him unconscious instantly. The crowd sat in stunned silence, unable to process what they had witnessed. Supreme Kai realized appealing to Goku's heroism was pointless. He tried a different approach, warning Goku that Majin Buu, once released, would destroy everything, including strong fighters. If Goku wanted opponents to battle, he should help prevent Buu's resurrection. Otherwise, the planet and everyone on it would be turned into candy and eaten. This reasoning reached Goku's damaged mind in a way morality could not. He wanted strong opponents. Dead opponents could not fight him. He agreed to help, but only to preserve potential future battles. Supreme Kai led them to Babidi's spaceship beneath the stadium. Goku, Supreme Kai, Kibito, Piccolo, and Krillin descended into the ship while Goten and Trunks stayed above on Supreme Kai's orders. The ship had multiple levels, each guarded by one of Babidi's warriors. The first level held Pui Pui, an alien fighter who boasted about his power. Goku walked forward without being asked and punched straight through Pui Pui's chest, killing him instantly. Supreme Kai stared in horror at the casual murder. Goku showed no emotion whatsoever. They descended to the second level, where Yakon waited in total darkness. This monster could eat light and energy, making him dangerous to most fighters. Goku simply powered up to Super Saiyan 3, flooding the room with so much energy that Yakon exploded from trying to absorb it all at once. The third level presented Dabura, king of the demon world, whose power equaled perfect cells. Dabura studied Goku carefully and realized something was wrong with this fighter. The Saiyan's eyes held no life, no spirit, only emptiness. Babidi, watching through his crystal ball, sensed it too. He detected darkness in Goku's heart, a vast ocean of rage and madness that made even Vegeta's darkness look small. He tried to take control of Goku, using his magic, placing the Majin spell on him. But Goku's broken mind was already so fragmented that Babidi's control simply failed. The spell could not grasp something that had no coherent consciousness to manipulate. Frustrated, Babidi ordered Dabura to attack. Dabura fought seriously, using his demon powers and centuries of combat experience. His sword could turn anything it cut into stone. His fire breath could incinerate planets. His magic could curse and weaken opponents. But Goku dodged every attack with minimal movement, his 3,000 years of training making Dabura's techniques look slow and predictable. When Goku finally counterattacked, one punch shattered Dabura's sword and broke the demon's jaw. Another punch caved in his chest. A final punch removed Dabura's head from his shoulders. The Demon King died without ever landing a single hit. Supreme Kai watched in growing horror as Goku killed Babidi's warriors without mercy or hesitation. This was not the Goku from the legends, not the pure-hearted hero who valued all life. This was something else, something dangerous. Babidi panicked, realizing his warriors were useless. He had enough energy collected from the previous battles and Goku's overwhelming power. He performed the ritual early, channeling all that energy into Buu's sealed ball. The pink sphere began to crack and steam as the seal broke. Majin Buu emerged, a fat pink creature with a childish smile and deadly power. He looked around curiously, saw Babidi, saw the others, and his smile widened. Babidi ordered Buu to kill the intruders, confident his ancient weapon would destroy them. Majin Buu attacked Goku first, moving with surprising speed for his size. His stretchy arm extended impossibly long, trying to grab Goku. The Saiyan caught the arm and tore it off Buu's body. The pink demon laughed and regenerated the limb instantly. He turned people into candy with his antenna beam and ate them, including Kibito, who could not dodge in time. Goku studied Buu with mild interest. This opponent could regenerate and seemed quite durable. He might provide entertainment. Goku powered up further, his Super Saiyan 3 aura intensifying. He attacked with serious intent for the first time, his fists moving faster than eyes could track. Each punch destroyed huge portions of Buu's body, turning the demon into pink paste. But Buu kept regenerating, his magical nature allowing him to recover from any physical damage. The battle escalated, destroying Babidi's ship and creating a crater where the building had stood. Supreme Kai tried to help, but his power was insignificant compared to these two monsters. Piccolo and Krillin could only watch from a safe distance. Majin Buu, despite his playful demeanor, began to realize this opponent was dangerous. He tried his candy beam, but Goku simply deflected it with his hand. He tried his devastating energy wave attacks, but Goku tanked them without injury. Growing frustrated, Buu used his most terrifying technique. He tore off a piece of his body and threw it at Goku. The piece wrapped around Goku's face, trying to absorb him like Buu had absorbed others in his ancient past. For a moment, Supreme Kai felt hope. If Buu absorbed Goku, the demon would gain his power but might also gain his memories and emotions, potentially restoring some of Goku's lost humanity. But Goku's ki exploded outward with such force that Buu's absorption piece was blown away before it could complete the process. Goku grabbed Buu's head and began charging energy in his palm. The yellow sphere grew brighter and brighter, more power than Goku had ever used in a single attack. He was going to vaporize Buu completely, destroying every last cell so regeneration would be impossible. Babidi screamed orders at Buu, telling him to escape, to teleport away. Buu obeyed, vanishing using his instant transmission ability just before Goku's blast fired. The energy beam shot into the sky and continued into space, strong enough to destroy a planet if it hit one. Buu had escaped. Goku stood in the crater, his expression showing mild annoyance. The pink demon had proven interesting, but fled before their battle could conclude. Supreme Kai explained that Buu would now terrorize the world, killing everyone and turning cities into candy. They needed to track him down and find a way to defeat him permanently. Goku did not care about the people Buu would kill. He only cared that an interesting opponent had escaped. He sensed for Buu's energy and found it rapidly moving across the planet, with multiple key signatures disappearing wherever Buu went. The demon was killing thousands. Supreme Kai pleaded with Goku to help, to use his incredible power for good, instead of just personal satisfaction. But Goku's fractured mind did not process concepts like good and evil anymore. He simply wanted to fight. He flew toward Buu's location with Supreme Kai, following desperately. They found Buu in a city, the streets littered with candy that had once been people. Buu sensed Goku's approach and smiled, happy to continue their fight. But something changed in Buu during their second clash. The demon began to enjoy the battle, began to laugh and play while fighting. His childish nature found joy in having an opponent who could challenge him. This playfulness reminded Goku of something buried deep in his shattered memories, a feeling he had not experienced in 3,000 years. Fun, fighting for the pure enjoyment of battle rather than survival or rage. For the first time since emerging from the hyperbolic time chamber, something flickered in Goku's empty eyes. Not full awareness, not recovery, but a tiny spark of his old self. The battle raged across multiple cities, the two fighters destroying everything around them without care. Majin Buu proved more creative than expected, using magic and shapeshifting to surprise Goku repeatedly. Goku responded with techniques perfected over millennia, showing Buu attacks the demon had never seen before. At one point, Buu managed to land a solid hit that sent Goku crashing through a mountain. The Saiyan stood from the rubble and touched his lip, where blood trickled down. He looked at the blood, then at Buu, and something like a smile crossed his face. An actual smile, the first in 7 years. Babidi, watching from a safe distance, realized his weapon had found an equal. He ordered Buu to retreat, to recover, and plan a better strategy. But Buu ignored him, too engaged in the fight to care about Babidi's orders. The wizard's lack of control over his creation would prove fatal. Buu killed Babidi during a moment of annoyance, no longer wanting to hear the wizard's commands. Without Babidi's influence, Majin Buu became even more unpredictable. He split into two beings, his good and evil sides separating after internal conflict about whether killing was fun or wrong. Evil Buu absorbed good Buu and transformed into Super Buu, a taller, more muscular version with greater intelligence and cruelty. This Super Buu immediately went to Kami's lookout, sensing strong fighters there. Goten and Trunks had been training, learning the fusion dance from Piccolo, who had learned it from observing Goku teach it years ago. The boys fused into Gotenks just as Super Buu arrived. Gotenks fought bravely, even achieving Super Saiyan 3 through their combined potential, but Super Buu's power and experience overwhelmed them. When their fusion ran out, Super Buu prepared to kill the helpless children. Goku arrived before the killing blow landed. He had sensed the change in Buu's energy and came to continue their battle. Super Buu recognized him and smiled cruelly. This form was stronger, faster, smarter than before. They could have a real fight now. The battle that followed destroyed the lookout and several nearby cities. Goku and Super Buu were evenly matched, their power shaking the planet with every clash. Super Buu used his absorption technique again, trying to add Goku's power to his own. But Goku had learned from the first attempt and avoided it carefully. The fight reached a stalemate, neither able to gain a clear advantage. Then Super Buu sensed something interesting. A tremendous power sleeping somewhere on Earth. He left Goku mid-battle to find this new source of strength. That power was Gohan. Chi-Chi had kept Gohan hidden at home for 7 years, caring for his catatonic body, but Gohan's potential remained dormant within him, and Super Buu's magical senses detected it. He arrived at their house and found Gohan sitting motionless in a chair, staring at nothing. Super Buu tried to absorb him but found something strange. Gohan's mind was already broken, fractured into pieces by his time in the chamber. When Buu's absorption touched that shattered consciousness, it infected Buu's own mind like a virus. Super Buu began to scream, his thoughts fragmenting, his sense of self breaking apart. He separated from Gohan quickly, terrified of the madness he had touched. Goku arrived to find Super Buu fleeing in panic from his catatonic son. Even the demon feared the darkness living in Gohan's mind. The battle between Goku and Super Buu continued for days, destroying countless cities and killing millions through collateral damage. Finally, Buu made a mistake. He absorbed Piccolo and Gotenks, but when the fusion inside him wore off, his power decreased dramatically. Goku took advantage, beating Buu down until the demon expelled everyone he had absorbed. Buu reverted to Kid Buu, his original and purest form. This version was smaller but far more dangerous, completely insane and destructive without any restraint. Kid Buu's first action was charging an energy ball large enough to destroy Earth. He threw it at the planet without hesitation. Goku could stop it but chose not to. He grabbed Supreme Kai and teleported them both to the Supreme Kai planet, leaving Earth to its fate. The planet exploded, killing everyone except those Goku saved. The Z-Fighters, Chi-Chi, Gohan, all the people of Earth, died instantly in the blast. Supreme Kai stared at Goku in horror, asking why he had not saved them. Goku responded with empty logic. The people of Earth had abandoned him to 3,000 years of isolation. Why should he save them? Supreme Kai fell to his knees, weeping for all the lives lost. But the battle was not over. Kid Buu teleported to the Supreme Kai planet, sensing Goku's power and wanting to continue fighting. The final battle began on that sacred world, with only Goku and the demon remaining as opponents. Vegeta suddenly appeared, revived by old Kai who had used his life force. The old Saiyan prince looked at the destroyed Earth visible in space and realized his family was gone. Bulma, Trunks, everyone he cared about had died. He powered up to Super Saiyan 2 and attacked Kid Buu in a rage, but the demon was too strong. Vegeta fell quickly. Goku fought Kid Buu alone, the two trading devastating blows across the planet's surface. But Goku had trained for 3,000 years while Kid Buu had been sealed for millennia. The gap in experience showed. Goku began to dominate, his techniques and power overwhelming even Kid Buu's regeneration. He charged a massive Kamehameha and fired it point blank into Buu's core. The beam burned through the demon's body, destroying him cell by cell until nothing remained. Majin Buu was finally defeated, but Earth was gone. Billions were dead. And Goku stood on the Supreme Kai planet feeling nothing but emptiness once again. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this breakdown. Moving on to the fourth saga of our What If timeline, the God of Destruction saga. In the original timeline, Earth was restored after Kid Buu's defeat using the Namekian Dragon Balls. The wish brought back everyone who had died, including all of Earth's population. Goku was revived permanently through another wish, finally able to live with his family again after spending so much time dead. The Z Fighters celebrated their victory, and the world entered a new era of peace. 4 years passed quietly with Goku farming and occasionally training. Vegeta lived with Bulma and trained privately, still seeking to surpass Goku but no longer consumed by rivalry. Gohan focused on his scholarly pursuits while raising his daughter Pan with Videl. The younger generation, including Goten and Trunks, grew up in a world without constant threats. Everything seemed perfect until Beerus awakened. Beerus, the god of destruction for Universe 7, had been asleep for 39 years. His role was to destroy planets and civilizations to maintain balance in the universe, working alongside the Supreme Kais who created life. His power far exceeded anything the Z Fighters had ever faced, capable of destroying entire solar systems with minimal effort. Whis, his attendant and teacher who was an angel, served and guided him. Beerus had a prophetic dream about fighting a Super Saiyan god, a warrior who could match his power and give him an exciting battle. He woke and decided to seek out this Super Saiyan god, eventually learning that the last Saiyans lived on Earth. Beerus traveled to Earth with Whis, arriving during Bulma's birthday party where all the Z Fighters had gathered. He asked about the Super Saiyan god, and when they could not provide one, he challenged them to battle. Vegeta fought first, but his Super Saiyan 2 form was utterly useless against Beerus, who defeated him with a finger tap. Goku arrived and transformed into Super Saiyan 3, attacking with everything he had. But Beerus knocked him unconscious with 2 casual chops, showing the massive gap between gods and mortals. Frustrated by Beerus, threatening to destroy Earth, Vegeta snapped and achieved a temporary power boost that let him land a few hits, though it changed nothing. They learned from Shenron that the Super Saiyan God was a ritual requiring 5 pure-hearted Saiyans to channel their power into a 6th. They gathered Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, Goten, Trunks, and the unborn Pan inside Videl to perform the ceremony. Goku transformed into Super Saiyan God, his hair and aura turning red as divine energy filled him. This form let him fight Beerus as an equal, their battle nearly destroying Earth multiple times. Beerus enjoyed the fight so much that he decided to spare Earth, though he still destroyed a small portion of it as a warning. He and Whis left peacefully, with Beerus promising to return for more of Earth's delicious food. Goku began training with Whis to master Godly Ki and become even stronger. But in this shattered timeline, the restoration of Earth became far more complicated. Old Kai and Supreme Kai gathered the Namekian Dragon Balls, which could grant 3 wishes instead of 1. They made their first wish to restore Earth to its previous state, undoing all the damage from Kid Buu's destruction. The planet reformed perfectly, the continents and oceans returning to normal. Their second wish revived everyone who had died when Buu destroyed the planet, bringing back billions of people who suddenly found themselves alive again, with no memory of dying. Chi-Chi returned, along with Bulma, Trunks, Goten, and everyone else. But the third wish they made carefully. They wished for Gohan's mind to be healed, to undo the damage from 3,000 years of isolation. Porunga, the Namekian dragon, granted the wish with his tremendous power. Gohan woke up for the first time in over 7 years. His eyes focused and he looked around in confusion, seeing his mother's tear-stained face above him. Chi-Chi hugged her son desperately, sobbing with relief that he had finally returned to her. Gohan remembered everything from the hyperbolic time chamber, all 3,000 years of isolation and madness, and watching his mind break apart piece by piece. But the memories felt distant now, like a terrible nightmare rather than experienced reality. His mind was whole again, functional and healthy. He asked about his father immediately. Chi-Chi's expression told him everything he needed to know. Goku had not been healed. Goku remained broken in the wilderness somewhere, his fractured mind unchanged. The Z Fighters gathered at Capsule Corp to discuss what had happened. Many people remembered dying in Buu's explosion, though the general population assumed it had been a dream or mass hallucination. The truth about Majin Buu and Goku's battle was kept secret as always. Vegeta stood before his friends, his face harder than ever. He explained that Goku had chosen not to save Earth from Buu's planet-destroying attack. The Saiyan had the power to stop it, but teleported away instead, letting everyone die. The weight of that revelation crushed their spirits. Gohan struggled to process this information. His father, who he remembered as kind and heroic, had abandoned Earth to destruction. But Gohan also understood why. He had lived through those 3,000 years himself, felt his mind shattering under the weight of endless isolation. If the Dragon Balls had not healed him, he might have become something similar to what his father was now. That understanding made everything worse somehow. Piccolo asked the obvious question that everyone was thinking. What should they do about Goku? He remained out there with godlike power and a broken mind. He had saved them from Cell and contributed to Buu's defeat, but he had also let Earth be destroyed. They could not predict what he might do next. Vegeta stated flatly that Kakarot needed to be stopped permanently. The Saiyan was too dangerous to leave alive, but nobody present could actually defeat Goku in battle. His power exceeded all of theirs, combined by an impossible margin. 4 years passed in uneasy tension. Earth rebuilt once again, and life continued normally for most people. But the Z-Fighters remained on constant alert, knowing Goku was out there somewhere. Sightings were rare but terrifying when they occurred. Someone would spot him standing on a mountain for days without moving, or flying across the sky at incredible speed with no clear destination. His power could be sensed occasionally spiking across the planet when he trained. Gohan tried to find his father multiple times during those 4 years, hoping to reach him where others could not. He thought maybe sharing the experience of the hyperbolic time chamber's isolation would create a connection, but every time Gohan got close, Goku would disappear before they could speak. It was like his father was avoiding him specifically, perhaps unable to face the son whose mind he had watched break. Chi-Chi gave up trying to reach Goku after the first year. The pain of seeing him and being ignored had become too much. She focused on raising Goten, who was now 11 years old and training seriously with Trunks. Both boys had become strong fighters, achieving Super Saiyan at young ages. Vegeta trained them occasionally, pushing them hard because he knew Earth needed strong defenders who were not insane. The Saiyan Prince himself had reached new levels of power through obsessive training, finally achieving Super Saiyan 3 and working toward mastering it. But even this progress felt meaningless, knowing the gap between himself and Goku would never close. Then Beerus woke up. The god of destruction had slept for 39 years on his distant planet, dreaming of a worthy opponent. In his dream, he saw a golden warrior who fought him as an equal, someone called a Super Saiyan god. When Beerus woke, he asked Whis to find information about this Super Saiyan god and where they might locate one. Whis researched using his Angel Staff's ability to observe events across the universe. He discovered that Frieza had been killed by a Super Saiyan years ago, and that several Saiyans currently lived on a planet called Earth in the North Galaxy. Beerus decided to visit Earth and find these Saiyans. If they could tell him about the Super Saiyan god, excellent. If not, he would destroy their planet for wasting his time. Whis and Beerus traveled across space to Earth, arriving after a journey of several hours. They descended from the sky toward the largest city, their divine energy barely contained. Every fighter on Earth felt their arrival immediately. The power was unlike anything they had sensed before, making even Goku's broken strength seem small by comparison. This was a being on a completely different level, something beyond mortal understanding. Vegeta was at Capsule Corp when he felt it, and his blood ran cold. His time as Frieza's servant had included stories about the gods of destruction, legendary beings who destroyed planets on a whim. If one had come to Earth, they were all in terrible danger. Beerus and Whis landed in West City and began looking for the Saiyans. They entered a restaurant and started eating, planning to ask locals about Saiyan locations after their meal. But Beerus found the food disappointing and destroyed the restaurant in anger, killing everyone inside. The explosion caught the attention of nearby heroes. Gohan arrived first, now 21 years old and working as a scholar while maintaining his fighting abilities. He landed in front of Beerus and demanded to know why the stranger had killed innocent people. Beerus looked at Gohan with mild interest, sensing Saiyan blood in him. He asked if Gohan knew about the Super Saiyan God. Gohan had never heard of such a thing, and said so honestly. Beerus, disappointed, prepared to destroy the entire city for failing to provide useful information. Gohan transformed into a Super Saiyan and attacked, trying to stop Beerus from killing more people. His punch, thrown with all his strength, connected with Beerus's face. The god of destruction's head moved slightly from the impact. Beerus looked down at Gohan with mild amusement, then flicked his finger against Gohan's forehead. The casual gesture sent Gohan flying through multiple buildings, his Super Saiyan form dispelling from the impact. He crashed unconscious into rubble a mile away. Beerus commented to Whis that these Saiyans were disappointingly weak. Vegeta arrived next, having flown at maximum speed from Capsule Corp. He recognized Beerus immediately from old Saiyan legends, and fell to his knees, begging the god of destruction for mercy. His pride meant nothing in the face of a being who could erase the universe. Beerus was intrigued that Vegeta knew who he was. The Saiyan Prince explained that he had heard stories from his father about the gods of destruction, beings who maintain balance by destroying planets. Beerus asked again about the Super Saiyan God, and Vegeta promised to find information if given time. More Z fighters arrived as Vegeta stalled. Piccolo, Krillin, Tien, and Android 18 gathered, but none dared attack after seeing what happened to Gohan. They felt Beerus' energy and understood they were hopelessly outmatched. Beerus grew impatient with the delays and decided to destroy Earth immediately, raising his hand to summon the destructive energy. Then everyone felt it, another presence approaching rapidly. That familiar, overwhelming power that had haunted them for years. Goku was coming. He landed between Beerus and the Z fighters, his appearance still wild and unkempt after years in isolation. His long hair hung past his shoulders, and his tattered gi barely covered his scarred body. But his eyes focused on Beerus with an intensity they had not shown in years. This being's power called to something deep in Goku's broken mind. A challenge, a real opponent who might actually test him. Beerus studied Goku with great interest, sensing the tremendous power within this Saiyan. But he also sensed something wrong, something fractured in Goku's energy. The Saiyan's ki felt corrupted somehow, tainted with madness. Beerus asked if this was the strongest warrior on Earth. Vegeta quickly explained that yes, this was Kakarot, and warned that Goku was extremely dangerous and unpredictable. Beerus did not care. He wanted to see what this Saiyan could do. Goku transformed into Super Saiyan 3 without warning, his hair growing down his back as golden lightning crackled around him. The power made Beerus smile slightly. This was better than the others, at least. Goku attacked immediately with no words or hesitation, his fist aimed at Beerus' face with enough force to shatter planets. Beerus caught the punch with one hand, his smile widening. Finally, a Saiyan with some actual strength. But when he looked into Goku's eyes during their clash, he saw the emptiness there. No passion, no joy, just hollow rage and broken madness. This was not the Super Saiyan God from his dream. This was something else entirely. They fought across West City, their battle destroying buildings and creating massive craters with every exchange. Goku fought with techniques perfected over 3,000 years, showing combinations and strategies that impressed even Beerus. But the God of Destruction had millions of years of experience and power that dwarfed anything mortals could achieve. He dodged Goku's attacks casually, countering with strikes that would have killed anyone else. Goku's Saiyan durability and healing let him survive, but barely. The battle escalated as Goku pushed himself harder. He had never faced an opponent this strong before. Even in his broken state, some part of him recognized this was special. This was what he had been training for during all those centuries. A real challenge. Beerus began using more of his power, no longer just playing around. His aura turned purple and violent, reality itself warping around him. He hit Goku with a barrage of attacks too fast to see, each one strong enough to destroy mountains. Goku was beaten down into a crater, his Super Saiyan 3 form flickering as his energy depleted. But he stood up again, blood running down his face, and kept fighting. Beerus was genuinely impressed now. This Saiyan's determination reminded him of the warrior from his dream, even if the execution was flawed by madness. Whis watched the battle while eating ice cream he had acquired from a nearby shop. He commented to himself that this Saiyan was quite strong for a mortal, but his technique was rough and his mind was clearly damaged. Such a waste of potential. If this fighter had proper training and a healthy psyche, he might actually be interesting. Vegeta and the others watched helplessly as Goku was slowly beaten down. Despite all his power, despite 3,000 years of training, he could not match a god of destruction. Beerus was simply on another level entirely. After several minutes of battle, Beerus grew bored. This Saiyan was strong, but not the Super Saiyan God he sought. He delivered a karate chop to the back of Goku's neck, the same move he used in the original timeline. Goku collapsed unconscious, his Super Saiyan 3 form disappearing as he fell. Beerus turned to the gathered Z fighters and demanded they summon this Super Saiyan God immediately, or he would destroy the planet. Vegeta desperately tried to buy time, suggesting they use the Dragon Balls to ask Shenron about it. Beerus agreed, curious what these Dragon Balls were. They gathered all 7 balls quickly using Bulma's Dragon Radar and summoned Shenron. The Eternal Dragon appeared, his massive form coiling in the sky. Beerus' presence made Shenron nervous, the dragon recognizing divine power when he sensed it. Vegeta asked Shenron about the Super Saiyan God and how to create one. Shenron explained that, long ago, righteous Saiyans fought against evil ones. 5 of them pooled their power into a 6th, creating the Super Saiyan God temporarily. The ritual required 6 Saiyans total with pure hearts. They had the numbers Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, Goten, Trunks, and Videl, who was pregnant with Pan. But there was a problem. The ritual required pure hearts, and Goku's heart was anything but pure anymore. 3,000 years of isolation had corrupted him with rage and madness. Vegeta pointed this out, noting that Kakarot's heart was darkness now, not light. Beerus did not care about the details. He wanted to fight a Super Saiyan God, and if they could not provide one, Earth would be destroyed. They had no choice but to try. The 5 conscious Saiyans gathered in a circle around Goku's unconscious body: Gohan, Vegeta, Goten, Trunks, and Videl, with Pan inside her. They held hands and began channeling their energy according to Shenron's instructions. Golden light flowed from them into Goku's body. The ritual activated despite concerns about his corrupted heart. Power built within him as godly energy merged with his Saiyan nature. But something went wrong. The divine power reacted badly with his fractured mind, creating instability. Goku's body began to glow red as the Super Saiyan God transformation started, but the light flickered between red and black, pure and corrupted. His eyes snapped open and he screamed, the sound filled with pain and rage as 3,000 years of torment mixed with godly power. The transformation completed, but wrong. Goku stood in a form that resembled Super Saiyan God with red hair and lean muscles, but his aura crackled with black energy alongside the red. His eyes glowed with an unstable mix of divine power and madness. Beerus sensed the corrupted godly ki and frowned. This was not right. The Super Saiyan God from his dream had pure, warm energy. This Saiyan's divine power felt tainted, sick, wrong. But it was still godly power, which made Goku the first mortal opponent Beerus had faced in decades. He decided to fight anyway, curious what this corrupted god could do. The battle that followed was devastating. Goku in this twisted Super Saiyan God form matched Beerus blow for blow, their fists creating shockwaves that threatened to tear the universe apart. They fought across the city, then across the planet, then into space. Their clashes destroyed satellites and created explosions visible from the ground. But Goku's corrupted state made him unstable. Sometimes he fought with brilliant technique, other times he just raged mindlessly. The divine power boosted his strength immensely, but his broken mind could not control it properly. Beerus began to enjoy himself despite the corruption. This Saiyan, broken as he was, still provided a good fight. The god of destruction pushed harder, using more of his true power. Goku responded by pushing past his limits, the divine and corrupted energy mixing dangerously within him. They returned to Earth for their final clash, their fists meeting above the ocean with force that created a massive crater in the water. The impact sent tsunamis in all directions. Beerus and Goku separated, both breathing heavily. The god of destruction's time limit approached. He was not supposed to use full power this long, as it risked universe-level destruction. He needed to end this fight soon. Goku's Super Saiyan God form began to flicker as the 5-minute time limit of the ritual ended, but something unexpected happened. His body had absorbed the godly energy during the fight. Even as the red hair faded back to black and his form returned to normal, the divine power remained within him. His base form now contained godly ki, permanently changing his nature. But the corruption remained too, the black energy still mixing with his power. Beerus sensed this change and found it fascinating. A mortal had absorbed godly power and made it his own. This had never happened before. Despite the corruption, it was an impressive feat. The god of destruction decided he had seen enough. He told Goku that the battle was over. Earth would be spared this time because the fight had been entertaining. But Beerus warned that if Goku ever became a real threat to the universe, if his corruption spread or his madness endangered reality itself, Beerus would return to destroy him personally. Gods of destruction existed to eliminate threats to universal balance, and a corrupted god-powered Saiyan definitely qualified as a potential threat. With those words, Beerus and Whis departed, flying back to their distant planet. The Z-Fighters stood among the ruins of multiple cities, processing what had just occurred. Goku remained standing, but his eyes had gone empty again, the brief spark of engagement from fighting Beerus fading. He looked at his hands, sensing the godly power now residing in his body permanently. Then, without a word to anyone, he flew away back to his isolation in the wilderness. Gohan tried to follow, but Piccolo stopped him. They had seen something important during that battle. When Goku fought Beerus, some of his old self had emerged briefly. The joy of facing a strong opponent, the thrill of pushing past limits. Those feelings were buried under 3,000 years of trauma, but they still existed somewhere deep inside. If they could find a way to heal Goku's mind, like they had healed Gohan's, maybe they could bring back the hero Earth needed. Vegeta disagreed strongly. Kakarot was too dangerous now, especially with godly power added to his already overwhelming strength. They needed to find a way to stop him permanently, not heal him. The Z-Fighters split into factions based on this disagreement. Some wanted to save Goku, others wanted to eliminate him, but nobody could do either thing. They were helpless against his power. And somewhere in the wilderness, Goku sat alone, the godly energy swirling within him, his fractured mind unable to understand what he had become. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this breakdown. Moving on to the fifth saga of our What If timeline, the Resurrection Saga. In the original timeline, life continued relatively peacefully after Beerus's visit. Goku and Vegeta impressed Whis enough that the angel offered to train them both on Beerus's planet. The two Saiyans accepted eagerly, knowing they needed godly training to reach new levels. Whis taught them to control Divine Ki properly, transforming their Super Saiyan God power into a new form called Super Saiyan Blue, where they combined godly essence with their Super Saiyan transformation. The training was intense, with Whis pushing them both to overcome their individual weaknesses, Goku's tendency to drop his guard, and Vegeta's tendency to overthink during battle. Both Saiyans grew tremendously stronger under Whis' guidance, though they still could not match the angel's power. Meanwhile, on Earth, the remnants of Frieza's army had been searching for the Dragon Balls. Two survivors, Sorbet and Tagoma, wanted to revive their emperor and restore the Frieza force to its former glory. They succeeded in gathering all 7 Dragon Balls and summoned Shenron. Their wish was to resurrect Frieza, despite warnings that he had been dead for over 15 years and his body destroyed. Shenron restored Frieza piece by piece, bringing him back in his mutilated state from Namek before healing him completely. Frieza awakened, filled with rage and humiliation. A Saiyan had defeated him, killed him, ended his reign as the universe's most feared tyrant. He wanted revenge against Goku more than anything, but Frieza was intelligent enough to recognize he had lost because the Super Saiyan transformation gave Goku superior power. So, Frieza decided to train for the first time in his life. He had never needed training before, born with overwhelming natural power. But 4 months of intense training would be enough, he calculated, to surpass any Super Saiyan. His training paid off beyond expectations. Frieza achieved a new transformation he called Golden Frieza, where his body turned gold, and his power increased dramatically. With this form, he believed he could crush Goku easily. He gathered 1,000 soldiers from his remaining forces and traveled to Earth, his army arriving in a massive spaceship. Frieza announced his presence and demanded Goku face him. Gohan, Piccolo, Krillin, Tien, and Master Roshi responded to the threat, fighting Frieza's soldiers while waiting for Goku. Bulma contacted Whis, who brought Goku and Vegeta back to Earth instantly. The two Saiyans had mastered Super Saiyan Blue during their training. Goku fought Golden Frieza first, both warriors evenly matched in their new forms. The battle was intense, but Frieza's lack of experience with his golden form showed. His stamina dropped rapidly because he had not trained long enough to maintain the transformation. Goku gained the advantage as Frieza weakened. Desperate and humiliated, Frieza resorted to destroying the planet itself. He fired an energy blast into Earth's core, and the planet exploded, killing everyone except Goku, Vegeta, and those protected by Whis' barrier. But Whis possessed the ability to reverse time for a few minutes. He rewound time 3 minutes, giving Goku a chance to prevent the disaster. When time resumed, Goku immediately killed Frieza with a decisive blast before the tyrant could destroy Earth. The threat ended, and Frieza's army retreated. Goku and Vegeta returned to training with Whis, preparing for future threats. Earth was saved once again, though it had been a close call that showed them how dangerous their enemies had become. But in this shattered timeline, everything unfolded very differently. After Beerus's departure, Whis approached Vegeta privately with an offer. The angel had observed both Saiyans during the battle with Beerus and recognized their potential, but only Vegeta seemed capable of proper training at this point. Goku's corrupted state and fractured mind made him too unstable for the disciplined training Whis provided. Vegeta accepted immediately, desperate for any way to increase his power. He needed to become strong enough to either defeat Kakarot or protect Earth when the corrupted Saiyan inevitably went on a rampage. Whis took Vegeta to Beerus's planet, leaving Earth behind. The Saiyan Prince began training under the angel's guidance, learning to sense and control godly ki. The training was brutal and humiliating. Whis treated Vegeta like a student, not a warrior, constantly correcting his posture and technique. But Vegeta endured it all because he could feel himself growing stronger each day. On Earth, months passed quietly. Goku remained in the wilderness, occasionally sensed moving across the planet but never approaching civilization. His corrupted godly power made everyone nervous. They knew he was even more dangerous now than before. Gohan continued his scholarly work while training regularly to maintain his strength. He had not given up on reaching his father somehow, but opportunities were rare. Piccolo meditated and trained, always ready to defend Earth if needed. Krillin, Tien, and the others lived their normal lives while staying alert for threats. Nobody expected Frieza's return. The tyrant's empire had been defunct for over 15 years, his forces scattered across the galaxy, but Sorbet and Tagoma had been planning carefully. They tracked down Earth's Dragon Balls using information from old scouter records. The process took months of searching, but they eventually gathered all 7. Under cover of night in a remote location, they summoned Shenron. The eternal dragon appeared, his massive form coiling in the dark sky. Sorbet made his wish to revive Lord Frieza, the greatest emperor the universe had ever known. Shenron hesitated, explaining that Frieza's soul had been in hell for many years and his body had been destroyed completely, but the dragon's power could restore him if Sorbet truly wanted that. Sorbet confirmed the wish. Shenron's eyes glowed red and energy gathered in the air. Piece by piece, Frieza's body reformed from nothing. First his bones, then organs, then flesh and skin. The tyrant appeared in his mutilated state from Namek, body cut in half and missing limbs. Then that damage healed, restoring him to his final form. Frieza gasped as life returned to him, his purple eyes opening for the first time in over 15 years. He looked at his restored body, then at Sorbet and Tagoma, kneeling before him. His first words were asking about the Saiyan who defeated him. Sorbet nervously explained that Goku still lived on Earth, but reports suggested he had become even stronger over the years. Frieza's rage exploded at this news. The monkey who humiliated him was still alive, probably living peacefully without consequences for his actions. This was unacceptable. Frieza declared he would train for 4 months to achieve power beyond any Super Saiyan, then return to Earth and make Goku suffer before killing him. Sorbet was shocked. Lord Frieza had never trained before in his entire life. His natural power had always been overwhelming enough, but Frieza insisted he would not underestimate the Saiyan again. For 4 months, Frieza pushed his body to its absolute limits. He trained alone on a remote planet, forcing his cells to evolve and adapt to extreme stress. His natural potential was enormous, and focused training unlocked power he never knew he possessed. He achieved a new transformation that turned his body gold and multiplied his strength many times over. This golden Frieza form put him far beyond his previous maximum. Satisfied with his new power, Frieza gathered what remained of his forces. He could only muster about 1,000 soldiers, a fraction of his former army. But quantity did not matter when he personally possessed overwhelming power. His spaceship traveled to Earth, entering the atmosphere in broad daylight. The massive vessel hovered over West City, impossible to miss. Frieza emerged from the ship floating in the sky, his arms crossed as he looked down at the city below. His voice, amplified by technology, boomed across the entire region. He announced that he had returned from the dead to destroy the Saiyan called Goku. He demanded Goku appear immediately, or he would destroy cities one by one until the coward showed himself. The Z fighters responded to this threat within minutes. Gohan arrived first, now 25 years old, and maintaining his fighting abilities, despite his scholarly focus. Piccolo came next, followed by Krillin, Tien, Master Roshi, and Android 18. They landed on buildings near Frieza's ship and stared up at the tyrant who had caused so much suffering decades ago. Frieza smiled cruelly when he saw them. He recognized Piccolo and Gohan from Namek, though Gohan was much older now. The others were new faces, weaklings by the look of them. He asked where Goku was, his voice dripping with venom. Gohan explained that his father was not available and would not be coming. Frieza laughed, assuming Goku was hiding like a coward. He ordered his 1,000 soldiers to descend and attack, wanting to warm up before the main event. The soldiers poured out of the ship, a mixture of alien races and battle armor. They outnumbered the Z-fighters massively. The battle began with the soldiers attacking from all sides. Gohan, Piccolo, and the others fought back, quickly realizing these soldiers were much stronger than Frieza's forces from the past. They had been training too. The fight was difficult, with the Z-fighters forced to power up to handle the numbers and strength. Gohan transformed into a Super Saiyan, his golden aura blazing as he moved through groups of soldiers. Piccolo stretched his arms and fired energy blasts, taking down multiple enemies at once. Krillin used his Destructo Disc to slice through armor. Tien split into multiple copies with his multiform technique. Master Roshi bulked up and fought with decades of experience. Android 18 moved with mechanical precision, breaking bones with every hit. But there were too many soldiers and some were exceptionally strong. Tagoma in particular had trained extensively and reached power comparable to Frieza's first form from Namek. He targeted Gohan, knowing the Saiyan was the strongest defender present. Their battle was intense, with Tagoma's ruthless fighting style pushing Gohan to his limits. The fighting continued for over an hour, bodies littering the streets as the Z-fighters slowly reduced the enemy numbers. Frieza watched from above with growing impatience. Where was Goku? He had expected the Saiyan to appear by now, rushing to save his friends and planet like the pathetic hero he was. Gohan, breathing heavily after defeating Tagoma, looked up at Frieza and tried to explain. His father had changed. Something had broken inside him years ago. He would not be coming to save them. They would need to defeat Frieza themselves or retreat and find another solution. Frieza's expression darkened. He descended from the sky, landing in the ruined street before Gohan. If Goku would not come, then Frieza would force him to appear by torturing his friends and family. He powered up, his aura crackling as he prepared to transform. But before he could, everyone felt it, that overwhelming presence approaching rapidly. Goku had sensed Frieza's power and recognized it from genetic memory. The tyrant who had destroyed planet Vegeta, who had killed countless Saiyans, whose cells were part of Cell's creation. Goku appeared in the sky above the battlefield, descending slowly to land between Frieza and the Z fighters. His appearance had not improved over the months. His long hair remained wild and unkempt. His gi hung in tatters. Scars covered his exposed skin from years of harsh training, but his eyes, usually empty and lifeless, held a spark of focus as he stared at Frieza. The tyrant studied this Saiyan carefully. He looked different from the Goku that Frieza remembered from Namek, older and more damaged. But the power radiating from him was unmistakable. This was the Super Saiyan who had humiliated him. Frieza smiled coldly and welcomed Goku to what would be his execution. He explained how he had trained for 4 months to achieve power beyond anything Goku could imagine. He would make the Saiyan suffer before killing him slowly. Goku did not respond with words. He simply transformed into his Super Saiyan God form, the one corrupted by his broken mind. His hair turned red, but black energy crackled through his aura. His eyes glowed with that unstable mix of divine power and madness. The corrupted godly ki made Frieza take a step back despite himself. This energy felt wrong, powerful, but sick. Frieza recovered his composure and transformed into Golden Frieza. His body turned brilliant gold, his power multiplying exponentially. The ground cracked beneath him from the pressure of his energy. He had become far stronger than the Super Saiyan who defeated him on Namek, but as he looked at Goku's corrupted god form, he felt uncertainty. This did not look like normal Super Saiyan power. They clashed in the center of West City, their fists meeting with force that leveled entire blocks. The shockwave knocked the Z fighters backward, forcing them to retreat to a safe distance. Goku and Frieza fought with incredible speed, their movements blurs even to trained eyes. Frieza landed solid hits that would have killed anyone else, but Goku's durability enhanced by godly power let him tank the damage. Goku countered with combinations perfected over 3,000 years, each strike carrying corrupted divine energy that burned Frieza's golden form. The battle raged across the city, destroying everything in their path. Frieza had trained his golden form for 4 months, but was still learning its limits. Goku had absorbed godly power during his fight with Beerus, and integrated it with his corrupted nature over the following months. The matchup was closer than Frieza expected. He was not dominating like he had planned. They were roughly equal, trading blows that devastated the landscape. Frieza began to feel his stamina draining. The Golden Frieza form consumed tremendous energy, and he had not trained long enough to maintain it indefinitely. His attacks lost power as minutes passed. Goku sensed the weakness and pressed harder, his corrupted god form stable enough to outlast Frieza's golden transformation. The tyrant panicked as he realized he was losing again. Just like on Namek, the Saiyan was proving superior through endurance. In desperation, Frieza made the same decision he had made in the original timeline. If he could not win, he would destroy everything. He gathered energy and fired a powerful blast straight down into the Earth's crust, aiming for the planet's core. The energy penetrated deep, destabilizing the core and triggering a chain reaction. Gohan and the others felt the ground shaking violently beneath them. Piccolo understood immediately what Frieza had done. The planet was going to explode within minutes. Everyone would die. Goku stood motionless, watching the ground crack and lava seep through. His corrupted mind processed this slowly. The planet was being destroyed. Everyone would die. Just like with Majin Buu, he could save them or let them die. His fractured thoughts offered no clear answer. Frieza laughed maniacally, his golden form flickering as his stamina finally depleted completely. He reverted to his final form, weakened and exhausted, but it did not matter. In moments, the planet would explode, and everyone, including that Saiyan, would die. Frieza would die too, but at least he would have his revenge. The Z fighters screamed at Goku to do something, to save Earth like he had done before, against other threats. But Goku simply stood there, his corrupted god form blazing, while the planet shook apart beneath him. Then Gohan acted. He could not let everyone die because his father's mind was too broken to care. He powered up to his maximum, channeling all his energy into one attack. He fired a massive Kamehameha wave at Frieza, determined to kill the tyrant before the planet exploded. The golden energy consumed Frieza completely, vaporizing his weakened body before he could defend himself. The tyrant died screaming, his dreams of revenge ending in failure. But killing Frieza did not stop the planet's destruction. The core had been destabilized and would explode soon. Gohan turned to his father and pleaded with him to save everyone. Use his power to stabilize the core or teleport people to safety. Anything. For a long moment, Goku stared at his son with those empty, corrupted eyes. 3,000 years of isolation had taught him that people could not be trusted. They abandoned you when you needed them, let you suffer alone. Why should he save them? But looking at Gohan's desperate face triggered something buried deep in his fractured mind. A memory of loving this boy, of training with him in the hyperbolic time chamber before everything went wrong, of wanting to protect him from danger. That tiny spark of his old self flickered briefly. Goku placed his hand on the ground and channeled his corrupted godly power into the planet. The divine energy, tainted as it was, proved strong enough to stabilize the core's destabilization. He reversed the damage Frieza had caused, sealing the cracks and cooling the overheated core. The shaking stopped. The ground stopped breaking apart. Earth was saved. Goku stood and looked at the gathered Z fighters, seeing their relieved and grateful expressions. They thanked him for saving them, for protecting Earth once again, but their words felt hollow to his broken mind. They were grateful now, but would abandon him again when convenient. His corrupted god form faded, and he returned to his base state, the divine power receding inside him. Without another word, he flew away back to the wilderness, leaving them standing in the ruins of West City. Gohan watched his father disappear into the distance, feeling a mixture of hope and despair. The fact that Goku had saved them meant something of his old self still existed inside, but the way he left without acknowledgement showed how damaged he remained. Piccolo approached Gohan and placed a hand on his shoulder. They had seen Goku's power against Golden Frieza. The corrupted god form could handle threats that would have required both Goku and Vegeta in the original timeline, but that power came with instability and unpredictability. Vegeta returned from his training with Whis a few days later. The Saiyan Prince had achieved the Super Saiyan Blue transformation, learning to combine godly ki with his Super Saiyan form properly. He was far stronger than before, though still not as powerful as Goku's corrupted god form. When Bulma told him about Frieza's attack and Goku's intervention, Vegeta's expression hardened. Kakarot was becoming more dangerous with each incident. He had godly power now, corrupted but incredibly strong, and his mind remained fractured and unpredictable. The Z fighters gathered at Capsule Corp to discuss the situation. They had two major problems. First, Goku's corrupted state made him unreliable despite his power. He had saved them this time, but let Earth be destroyed against Buu. They could not predict what he would do next. Second, threats were escalating. Beerus, the god of destruction, had visited. Frieza had returned from the dead with a new transformation. Who knew what other dangers existed in the universe? They needed Goku fighting for them properly, not this broken version who acted on whims. Gohan proposed they try to heal his father's mind like the Dragon Balls had healed his own. If the Namekian Dragon Balls could fix 3,000 years of mental damage once, maybe they could do it again. Piccolo agreed to contact Dende and see if such a wish was possible. But there was a complication. The Namekian Dragon Balls could only be used once per year, and they had been used recently. They would need to wait months before making another wish. In the meantime, they would need to protect Earth themselves and hope Goku did not do anything catastrophic. Vegeta insisted they had a backup plan ready. If Kakarot's corruption worsened or he became a direct threat, Vegeta would fight him using his new Super Saiyan Blue power. He knew he probably could not win, but he would try anyway. The Saiyan Prince refused to let Kakarot destroy everything out of madness. Training intensified across the planet. Gohan worked to regain his ultimate form that he had lost through years of not training. Piccolo meditated and pushed his limits. Krillin, Tien, and the others trained together. They all knew more threats would come, and they could not rely on a corrupted god-powered Saiyan to save them each time. Goku remained in the wilderness, his corrupted godly power swirling inside him. He did not understand why he had saved Earth from Frieza's destruction. His broken mind offered no clear reasoning. Sometimes he would remember fragments of his old life, feelings of wanting to protect people. Other times he only felt the rage and abandonment from 3,000 years of isolation. The corruption from his shattered psyche mixed with divine power in dangerous ways. He was becoming something unprecedented in the universe, a mortal with godly strength and a fractured mind, a being of incredible power who could not distinguish between heroism and destruction, and somewhere in the cosmos, other gods were taking notice of this corrupted divine energy. Beings far more powerful than Beerus sensed the disturbance in Universe 7. A mortal had absorbed godly power and corrupted it with madness. This anomaly could not be ignored. Eventually, they would come to investigate, and when they did, Earth would face dangers that made Frieza and Buu look like children's toys. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this breakdown. Moving on to the 6th saga of our What If timeline, the Black Shadow Saga. In the original timeline, peace lasted only briefly after Frieza's defeat. Future Trunks, who had returned to his own timeline years ago after helping defeat Cell, came back to the present, desperate for help. His timeline was being destroyed by a mysterious enemy who looked exactly like Goku but fought with malicious intent. This enemy called himself Goku Black and possessed incredible power that overwhelmed everyone in the future timeline. Future Trunks barely escaped using his time machine. arriving in the present to warn everyone and seek assistance. When he met the real Goku, the contrast was obvious. Goku was alive, pure-hearted, and confused about this evil doppelganger. They learned that Goku Black was actually Zamasu, an apprentice, Supreme Kai, from Universe 10 who had grown to hate all mortals. Zamasu believed mortals were violent and sinful, unworthy of existence. He had used the Super Dragon Balls, which could grant any wish across the multiverse, to switch bodies with Goku. Then he killed Goku's family and teamed up with an alternate timeline version of himself who had wished for immortality. The two Zamasus planned to exterminate all mortals across every timeline, creating a universe of pure gods. Goku Black wielded Goku's Saiyan body with divine techniques, creating a fighting style that combined godly power with Saiyan adaptability. He could even transform into Super Saiyan Rosé, a pink-haired version of Super Saiyan Blue that used divine ki throughout. The Z fighters traveled to future Trunks' timeline multiple times to battle these enemies. Goku and Vegeta both fought Goku Black and future Zamasu, struggling against the immortal body and stolen Saiyan power. Eventually, Goku and Vegeta used the Potara earrings to fuse into Vegito Blue, a warrior powerful enough to dominate the merged Zamasu fusion. But before they could finish him, the earring's time limit ended. The situation grew desperate when Zamasu's immortal body began to break down from the damage, causing him to merge with the universe itself. His face appeared in the sky as he became one with reality, corrupting everything with his godly presence. Goku summoned Xeno, the Omni King who ruled over all universes, using a button Xeno had given him earlier. The childlike god appeared and erased the entire timeline to stop corrupted Zamasu, killing everything, including future Trunks' world. Trunks and his companion Mai were given a chance to live in an alternate version of their timeline where another Trunks had already defeated the androids in Cell. But in this shattered timeline, the events unfolded with terrifying differences. Future Trunks' timeline had diverged long ago when Cell traveled back, creating multiple branching realities. In the future that Trunks came from, things had gone even worse than in the original story. After Trunks returned from helping defeat Cell in the past, he found his timeline's androids waiting. Using the knowledge and strength gained from his time in the main timeline, Trunks destroyed androids 17 and 18 relatively easily. He then defeated Cell when the bio-android appeared, preventing the terror that creature would have caused. His world finally knew peace, for the first time in decades. Trunks helped rebuild society, working alongside his mother, Bulma, to restore civilization. Years passed quietly, and his timeline seemed headed toward a bright future. But then the Supreme Kai of Universe 10, Gowasu, took on an apprentice named Zamasu. This young Kai was brilliant and talented, but held disturbing views about mortals. He watched them through Gowasu's time ring and saw endless cycles of violence, war, and destruction across countless planets. Zamasu's hatred for mortals grew as he observed more timelines. He saw the Saiyan race destroy civilizations. He witnessed humans wage wars that killed billions. He observed every instance of mortal cruelty and sin. The young Kai became convinced that mortals were a mistake, a plague upon the beautiful universe that gods had created. They needed to be eliminated for true peace to exist. During a visit to Universe 7 to observe the legendary Super Saiyan, Zamasu met Goku and fought him briefly. The Saiyan's power impressed Zamasu, but also disgusted him. A mortal should not possess such strength. It was an insult to the divine order. After returning to Universe 10, Zamasu's hatred festered and grew into a plan. Using GodTube, a video sharing platform used by divine beings across the multiverse, Zamasu researched powerful mortals. He found something that shocked him to his core: reports of a Saiyan in Universe 7 who had absorbed corrupted godly power. A mortal who had not earned divine ki through ritual or training, but through madness and broken mental state. The recording showed glimpses of Goku's corrupted god form, the red and black energy that crackled around him during his fight with Beerus. Witnesses described the unstable power, the feeling of wrongness that radiated from this Saiyan. To Zamasu, this was the ultimate proof that mortals should never touch divine power. They corrupted it, tainted it, turned something pure into something sick. This Saiyan, this Goku, represented everything wrong with letting mortals live. They were not content with their place in the universe. They reached for power beyond their station and corrupted everything they touched. Zamasu decided Goku's body would be perfect for his plan. A Saiyan body had unlimited potential and adaptability. If Zamasu possessed it, he could use that mortal shell to destroy all other mortals while remaining pure himself. The irony pleased him. He would use the mortals' greatest warrior as the instrument of their extinction. Zamasu learned about the Super Dragon Balls, 7 massive orbs scattered across universes 6 and 7 that could grant any wish without limitation. Using his position as Supreme Kai apprentice, he stole Gowasu's time ring, which allowed travel through time without creating paradoxes. He gathered the Super Dragon Balls and made his wish to switch bodies with the Goku from the timeline where corrupted godly power existed. The The dragon granted his wish, and Zamasu's consciousness was pulled across space and time into Goku's body in a moment between timelines. But something went terribly wrong with the wish. When Zamasu took over Goku's body, he also inherited the corrupted divine power that had been integrated into every cell. The madness that had consumed Goku for years infected Zamasu's divine consciousness immediately. The Yonkai's mind, which had been twisted by hatred for mortals but was still fundamentally ordered and purposeful, merged with 3,000 years of isolation-induced insanity. The result was a being far more dangerous than the original Goku Black. This version, which would also call itself Goku Black, possessed not only Goku's Saiyan body and Zamasu's divine techniques, but also the corrupted godly ki that made reality itself uncomfortable. The new Goku Black had both the original Zamasu's hatred for mortals and the fractured madness of the corrupted Saiyan, creating something that should not exist. In the moment of the body switch, the real Goku's consciousness was placed in Zamasu's body in Universe 10. But with his mind so damaged, Goku could not understand what had happened. He simply found himself in a strange body in an unfamiliar place. Zamasu's body rejected the corrupted consciousness immediately. Within minutes, that body died, as the fractured mind could not maintain the life functions of an unfamiliar form. Goku died in Universe 10 while the corrupted Goku Black was born with his body. Goku Black tested his new body immediately, feeling the tremendous power it contained. The Saiyan potential, the corrupted godly ki, the techniques stored in muscle memory from 3,000 years of training. This was perfect, better than Zamasu had imagined. He traveled through timelines using the stolen time ring, searching for a version of himself to partner with for the mortal extermination plan. He found future Zamasu, the version of himself in future Trunks' timeline, and explained his plan. Together they would kill all mortals across every timeline. Future Zamasu used the Super Dragon Balls to wish for complete immortality, making him impossible to kill by any means. The two Zamasus began their assault on future Trunks' timeline first, as it was already weakened by years of android attacks and had fewer strong defenders. Future Trunks was training when he felt the overwhelming ki signature appear. He flew toward it and found someone who looked exactly like Goku from the stories his mother had told, but the energy felt wrong, corrupted, evil. This person introduced himself as Goku Black and immediately attacked without explanation. The battle was one-sided. Future Trunks had achieved Super Saiyan 2 through his training but stood no chance against this enemy. Goku Black wielded power that felt divine but tainted, and his fighting style combined perfect technique with chaotic unpredictability from the inherited madness. Future Trunks barely escaped with his life, fleeing to his mother's laboratory. Future Bulma had kept the time machine in working condition over the years just in case. Future Trunks decided to travel to the past to get help, not knowing that the Goku in that timeline no longer existed in any form that could help him. The time machine appeared in the present timeline, landing in Capsule Corp's yard just as it had years ago. But this time, Trunks emerged looking desperate and terrified rather than confident. He was now in his 30s, older and more experienced than the young man who had helped defeat Cell. He stumbled out of the machine, collapsed, and was rushed inside by Bulma and the others. When he recovered enough to speak, Trunks told them about Goku Black, a person who looked like Goku but radiated evil, someone with incredible power who was systematically destroying his timeline and killing everyone. He had come to get Goku's help, believing the legendary warrior could stop this imposter. The room fell silent at this request. Nobody wanted to explain what had happened to Goku over the past years, how he had been broken by time chamber isolation, how his mind was fractured and corrupted, how he possessed godly power but could not be relied upon to help anyone. Vegeta stepped forward and explained the situation bluntly. Kakarot was in no condition to help anyone. He was dangerous and unpredictable, fighting only when he wanted to, saving people on whims rather than heroism. The corrupted godly power he possessed made him incredibly strong but also unstable. Trunks listened in growing horror as they described what his father's rival had become, but Gohan interjected with important information. If this Goku Black possessed Dad's appearance and corrupted godly power, they needed to investigate how that was possible. They used Bulma's equipment to scan for unusual energy signatures and detected something shocking. Somewhere in the wilderness, Goku's energy signature had vanished completely. The corrupted godly ki they had sensed for months was simply gone. It was as if Goku had ceased to exist. They sent out search parties immediately. Piccolo, Gohan, Krillin, and Tien spread across the planet looking for any sign of Goku. They found nothing. No body, no energy signature, no trace of his presence anywhere. It was like he had been erased from existence. The pieces began to come together. Someone, or something, had taken Goku's body, possibly using wishes or divine intervention. That person was now in future Trunks' timeline, causing destruction using Goku's appearance and corrupted power. The real Goku was gone. His consciousness disappeared or destroyed in the process. Vegeta processed this information with mixed emotions. Kakarot was gone. His rival of decades no longer existed, but some enemy now wielded Kakarot's body and power for evil purposes. The Saiyan Prince's pride would not allow that insult to stand. He declared he would go to the future timeline and defeat this Goku Black personally. Gohan insisted on coming too, wanting to stop whoever had stolen his father's body. Future Trunks, seeing their determination, agreed to take them back to his timeline. Vegeta and Gohan entered the time machine with Future Trunks, the vessel barely large enough for 3 people. They traveled through the temporal tunnel and emerged in Future Trunks' timeline, landing in a devastated city. Buildings lay in ruins everywhere. Bodies littered the streets, people who had been killed by overwhelming power. The sky was dark and ominous, heavy with the feeling of death. Future Bulma rushed to greet them, relieved her son had returned with help, but her relief faded when she learned the Goku from the past could not come. Instead, his son and rival were here to fight in his place. She explained that Goku Black appeared randomly, destroying cities and killing thousands before disappearing again. His partner, who called himself Zamasu and claimed to be a god, possessed a mortal body that could not be damaged permanently. Together they were systematically exterminating all human life. As if summoned by their discussion, 2 key signatures appeared overhead. Goku Black and Zamasu descended from the sky, landing in the ruined street before them. Gohan looked at Goku Black and felt his blood run cold. That was his father's face, his father's body, his father's fighting stance. But the eyes were wrong. They held hatred and madness even beyond what his father's corrupted state had shown. Goku Black smiled cruelly and welcomed them to the future. He explained in a voice that was not quite Goku's that he was Zamasu, a Supreme Kai who had taken this body to further his divine mission. He thanked Goku for providing such a perfect vessel, one already filled with corrupted godly power that made Zamasu's task easier. The tainted divine ki had merged seamlessly with Zamasu's own godly nature, creating strength beyond what either should have possessed separately. Vegeta powered up to Super Saiyan Blue immediately, his azure aura blazing as he launched himself at Goku Black. The two clashed with tremendous force, their fists meeting in an explosion of energy. Vegeta fought with everything he had learned from Whis, his technique refined and his godly ki controlled perfectly. But Goku Black matched him move for move. The corrupted body knew fighting instinctively from 3,000 years of training, and Zamasu's divine consciousness added strategy and cruel efficiency. They were evenly matched initially, trading blows across the devastated city. Gohan fought Zamasu, his Super Saiyan 2 form struggling against the immortal god. Every attack Gohan landed healed instantly. Every wound closed before his eyes. Zamasu laughed while fighting, explaining that mortals could never defeat a god, especially one who could not be killed. The battles raged for nearly an hour. Vegeta began to gain a slight advantage over Goku Black through superior technique and experience. The prince's training with Whis showed as he exploited small openings in Black's defense. But then Goku Black began to adapt. The Saiyan biology in his stolen body reacted to the challenge, growing stronger mid-battle. Black powered up further and achieved a new transformation. His hair turned pink instead of blue, his aura becoming a rose color that mixed godly power with corrupted energy. He called this Super Saiyan Rosé, a version of Super Saiyan Blue filtered through his divine and corrupted nature. The power increase was dramatic. Goku Black in this form overwhelmed Vegeta completely, beating him down until the prince could barely stand. Gohan tried to help his father's rival, but Zamasu intercepted him. The immortal god mocked Gohan's weakness, calling him a disgrace to the divine body his father had possessed. These words enraged Gohan, who powered up beyond his limits trying to tap into his old ultimate form. He managed to access a fraction of that power, enough to push Zamasu back temporarily. But it was not enough. Goku Black and Zamasu together proved too strong. They beat down both Vegeta and Gohan until the two Saiyans lay broken in the rubble. Future Trunks tried to intervene, but was swatted aside easily. Goku Black stood over Vegeta's unconscious body and prepared to kill him with a ki blast. Before he could fire, Future Mai, Trunks' companion, shot Goku Black with a special bullet that temporarily disrupted ki control. The distraction let Future Trunks grab Vegeta and Gohan, carrying them both back to the time machine. Future Bulma held off the enemies with a barrier device she had invented, giving them precious seconds to escape. They piled into the time machine and activated it, disappearing into the temporal tunnel just as Goku Black broke through the barrier. Future Bulma stayed behind, sacrificing herself to ensure they escaped. Her last words were telling her son to keep fighting and never give up hope. They returned to the present timeline with Vegeta and Gohan badly injured. Senzu beans healed their physical wounds, but their spirits were crushed. They had been defeated easily despite Vegeta's training with Whis. Goku Black with corrupted divine power proved superior to pure Super Saiyan Blue. The situation seemed hopeless. Future Trunks mourned his mother, rage and grief mixing in his heart. Vegeta recovered and immediately began planning his return to the future for another attempt, but Gohan stopped him, pointing out they needed a better strategy. Fighting the same way would just result in the same defeat. They needed something new, some advantage that could overcome Goku Black's corrupted power and Zamasu's immortality. Piccolo suggested fusion. If Vegeta and Gohan used the Potara earrings, they could create a warrior possibly strong enough to fight these enemies. Or if they learned the fusion dance that Goku had taught Goten and Trunks years ago, they could combine their strengths. Vegeta hated the idea of fusing with anyone, especially Kakarot's son. His pride rebelled against the concept. But looking at future Trunks' grief-stricken face, the prince realized pride meant nothing if his son's timeline was completely destroyed. He agreed to learn the fusion dance, which would allow temporary fusion without the permanence of Potara earrings. Gohan and Vegeta trained together for the first time, learning the ridiculous poses and precise timing required. The fusion had to be perfect, or it would create a weakened form. After days of practice, they managed their first successful fusion. The resulting warrior called himself Gokhan, combining Gohan and Vegeta's names. No, that did not sound right. They settled on calling the fusion Vegan. This warrior had Vegeta's ruthless fighting style, combined with Gohan's hidden potential and vast reserves of power. More importantly, he could access Super Saiyan Blue through Vegeta's training and had insights from both fighters on how to combat Goku Black. They returned to the future timeline, ready for another attempt. But when they arrived, they found the devastation had spread even further. Entire cities were gone, the population reduced to maybe a few thousand survivors, hiding in bunkers underground. Goku Black and Zamasu had accelerated their extermination plan. The two divine beings appeared immediately, sensing the time traveler's return. Goku Black seemed pleased they came back, wanting to punish them again for their defiance. But when Gohan and Vegeta performed the fusion dance successfully, creating Vegan, both enemies paused. This energy signature felt different from before, stronger and more unified. Vegan attacked immediately, in Super Saiyan Blue form, his power far exceeding what either Vegeta or Gohan could achieve separately. He matched Goku Black's Super Saiyan Rose form blow for blow, their battle shaking what remained of the ruined world. Future Trunks fought Zamasu, using a technique he had developed that could temporarily seal the immortal god's movements, even if it could not kill him. The fusion timer ticked down as Vegan fought desperately. 30 minutes was all they had. Goku Black began to struggle against this new opponent, his corrupted divine power meeting its match in properly trained godly ki, combined through fusion. But then Goku Black and Zamasu made their own decision. They used the Potara earrings to fuse permanently, creating fused Zamasu. This being had Goku Black's corrupted godly power, Zamasu's immortality, and the combined strength of two divine entities. His appearance was split down the middle, one half looking like Goku Black and the other like Zamasu, representing his dual nature. The power that radiated from fused Zamasu was beyond anything Vegan could handle. Even the combined strength of Vegeta and Gohan through fusion could not match a permanent fusion of two godly beings, where one side had both immortality and corrupted divine power. Vegan fought valiantly, but was slowly overwhelmed. Fused Zamasu's attacks carried both the corrupted madness of Goku Black and the righteous hatred of Zamasu, making him unpredictable and brutal. When Vegan's fusion timer ended, separating back into Vegeta and Gohan, fused Zamasu prepared to kill them both. But future Trunks intervened, his sword glowing with energy from the hopes of all the survivors in his timeline. He had been gathering their spiritual energy, creating a weapon of pure human will and determination. The spirit sword technique channeled all that energy into his blade, giving him power that briefly matched even fused Zamasu. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this breakdown. Moving on to the final saga of our What If timeline, the Final Gods saga. Future Trunks stood before fused Zamasu, his sword glowing with blue energy that represented the hopes and spirits of every survivor in his timeline. The spirit sword technique channeled the will of humanity itself, giving the Saiyan hybrid power that transcended normal limits. Vegeta and Gohan lay injured on the ground after their fusion had ended, unable to continue fighting. Everything now depended on Trunks, and the weapon he had created from human determination. Fused Zamasu looked at the glowing sword with contempt, calling it a pathetic mortal's last desperate attempt. A god with immortality and corrupted divine power could not be defeated by something as weak as human hope. But when Trunks attacked, his blade cut through Zamasu's defenses in ways that normal attacks could not. The energy carried a purity that acted like poison against the corruption inside Goku Black's stolen body. The battle between Trunks and fused Zamasu shook the ruined world. Every clash of sword against divine fist created shockwaves that leveled what few structures remained standing. Trunks fought with everything he had, knowing this was the last chance to save his timeline. His spirit sword left wounds on fused Zamasu that did not heal instantly like normal damage. The energy from human spirits resisted the immortality, creating injuries that persisted. Zamasu began to panic as he realized something was wrong. His immortal body should heal any wound immediately, but these cuts remained. The corrupted divine power in his stolen half reacted badly to the pure spiritual energy. The two forces were fundamentally opposed, creating instability in his fused form. Trunks pressed his advantage, striking again and again with the spirit sword. Each cut released more corrupted energy from Zamasu's body, weakening him further. Fused Zamasu's appearance started to change. The half that was Goku Black began to mutate, the corruption spreading visibly across his skin like a disease. His face distorted, becoming monstrous as the stolen body rejected the immortality, trying to sustain it. The other half, the immortal Zamasu side, remained perfect and undamaged. But the imbalance was tearing the fusion apart from inside. Zamasu screamed in rage and pain as his body betrayed him. This should not be possible. He was a god. He had immortality. He had the perfect Saiyan body filled with divine power. How could mortals hurt him? The answer was that the corruption itself had become his weakness. The 3,000 years of madness that had infected Goku's body before Zamasu stole, it could not coexist properly with true immortality. The two divine forces fought each other inside the fusion, destroying it from within. Vegeta and Gohan recovered enough to rejoin the battle, attacking from both sides while Trunks struck with his spirit sword. The combined assault pushed fused Zamasu to his breaking point. His body began to crack like glass, light leaking through the fractures. He tried to separate back into two beings to stop the damage, but the Potara fusion was permanent. He was trapped in this breaking form. In desperation, Zamasu made a terrible decision. If his body was failing, he would abandon it and become one with the universe itself. His consciousness expanded outward, using his immortal divine essence to merge with reality. His face appeared in the sky, enormous and terrible, stretching across the horizon. His presence spread through the atmosphere, corrupting the air itself. Everything he touched began to die, as his hatred for mortals infected the physical world. This was beyond anything the Z-Fighters could combat. Zamasu had become the timeline itself, his corrupted divine consciousness merging with space and matter. There was no body to attack anymore, no target to destroy. Vegeta tried firing ki blasts at Zamasu's face in the sky, but the attacks passed through harmlessly. The mad god laughed, his voice echoing from everywhere at once. He declared that he had achieved his ultimate form, becoming the universe itself. Now he would spread to other timelines, other universes, corrupting all of reality until only his pure divine will remained. Future Trunks, Vegeta, and Gohan stood helpless as purple energy spread across the sky like infection. Buildings dissolved into nothing where the energy touched them. The ground turned black and lifeless. Everything was being consumed by Zamasu's corrupted divine presence. Then Vegeta remembered something. In the present timeline, Goku had been given a button by Zeno, the Omni King who ruled over all universes. That button could summon Zeno instantly if pressed, calling the most powerful being in existence to any location. Vegeta had that button now, retrieved from Goku's belongings after his disappearance. The Saiyan Prince pulled it from his pocket and stared at it. Pressing this button would bring the Omni King to this timeline, and Zeno had the power to erase anything from existence completely. But it was also incredibly dangerous. Zeno was childlike and unpredictable. He might erase the entire timeline to solve the problem, killing all the survivors along with Zamasu. Vegeta looked at future Trunks, at his son from another timeline who had fought so hard to save his world. The young man nodded. Whatever happened, it was better than letting Zamasu consume everything. Vegeta pressed the button. Immediately, a small figure appeared floating in the air. Zeno looked like a small child with blue skin, wearing the robes of a king. His guards accompanied him but kept their distance. Zeno looked around at the corrupted timeline with curiosity, his innocent eyes taking in the destruction. Zamasu's face in the sky noticed Zeno and immediately tried to attack, sending corrupted energy toward the Omni King. Before the attack could reach him, Zeno raised his hand casually. The corrupted energy simply stopped existing where his palm pointed. Zeno frowned, his childlike face showing displeasure. He did not like this timeline. It was broken and wrong. The purple corruption everywhere made it ugly. He decided to fix it in the only way he knew how. Zeno raised both hands and began to erase the timeline. Everything started to fade into white light as reality itself was deleted. Zamasu screamed as even his universe-merged form could not resist the Omni King's power. His consciousness was erased along with the corrupted timeline, his immortality meaning nothing against a being who could simply make immortality stop existing. Future Trunks, Vegeta, and Gohan felt themselves beginning to fade as well. They were part of this timeline and would be erased with it, but before they completely vanished, another Zeno appeared. This was future Zeno, the Omni King of this timeline who had been watching from his palace. He was curious about the visitors from another time. Future Xeno saved Vegeta, Gohan, and future Trunks at the last second, pulling them out of the erasure into a pocket of safe space. The timeline collapsed into nothingness around them, everything ceasing to exist. They floated in white void, the only survivors of an entire timeline. Future Xeno looked at them with curiosity, then smiled. He liked these warriors who had fought so hard. The present timeline's Xeno joined his future counterpart, and the two childlike gods communicated in their strange way. They decided together that future Trunks and any other survivors should be allowed to live in a different timeline, one where this tragedy had never occurred. The two Xenos worked together, their combined power creating a portal to an alternate version of future Trunks' timeline. In that reality, Trunks had already defeated the androids in Cell years ago, and peace had been established. This alternate timeline's Trunks had died in an accident, leaving that world without its hero. Future Trunks, future Mai, and the few dozen other survivors were sent through the portal to begin new lives in that peaceful timeline. Vegeta and Gohan were returned to the present timeline, arriving back at Capsule Corp, where their journey through time had begun. They stepped out of the time machine, exhausted and traumatized by what they had witnessed. An entire timeline had been erased from existence. Billions of people gone forever because a mad god had stolen Goku's corrupted body and used it for genocide. The Z-Fighters gathered to hear what had happened, listening in horror as Vegeta and Gohan described Zamasu's actions and the timeline's destruction. The reality that Goku's body and corrupted divine power had been used for such evil weighed heavily on everyone. Chi-Chi wept when she learned her husband's body had been stolen and used to kill entire worlds. Goten could not process that his father's physical form had committed such terrible acts even though it was not really his father controlling it. Days passed as everyone tried to recover from the trauma, but something strange began happening across Universe 7. Reports came in of unusual energy signatures appearing randomly on Earth and other planets. These signatures felt familiar, but wrong, like corrupted divine ki, but without a physical source. Whis arrived at Capsule Corp with Beerus to investigate. The angel explained that when Xeno erased the future timeline, he had destroyed Zamasu's consciousness and Goku Black's body, but the corruption that had infected both still existed as a kind of spiritual pollution. When the timeline was erased, that corruption had nowhere to go. It leaked into other timelines as formless energy, searching for something to anchor itself to. Beerus frowned at this news, understanding the implications. Corrupted divine energy floating through reality could potentially infect other beings or destabilize the universe itself. We suggested they try to purify or contain this corruption before it caused problems. But how does one capture formless spiritual energy scattered across time and space? The answer came from an unexpected source. Old Kai, the ancient Supreme Kai who had given his life to revive Goku during the Buu Saga, contacted them from Otherworld. He explained that the corruption was actually pieces of Goku's original consciousness, the parts that had broken apart during 3,000 years of isolation. When Zamasu stole the body, the consciousness was transferred to Zamasu's body where it died. But consciousness does not simply disappear, it fragments and persists as spiritual energy. The corrupted pieces of Goku's awareness were now drifting through reality, causing the strange energy signatures. Old Kai believed that if they could gather all the fragments and purify them, they might be able to restore something of who Goku used to be. This seemed impossible given how scattered the fragments were across space and time. But Whis had an idea. The angels possessed abilities to manipulate time and space in limited ways. If Whis worked together with his sister Vados, the angel of Universe 6, they might be able to create a pocket dimension that would attract and contain the corrupted fragments. The two angels worked for several days, combining their divine powers to create a specialized space. This pocket dimension acted like a spiritual magnet, pulling in the corrupted energy from across the timelines. Slowly, the fragments began to gather in one place. The process took weeks, but eventually most of Goku's fragmented consciousness had been collected. What resulted was a swirling mass of red and black energy, formless but aware in some primal way. The question now was what to do with it. Old Kai suggested they could use the Super Dragon Balls to purify the corruption and restore Goku's consciousness to a proper state, but there was a problem. The Super Dragon Balls could only be used once per year across both Universe 6 and 7, and they had been used recently by Zamasu. They would need to wait months before making a wish. In the meantime, they kept the corrupted consciousness contained in Whis' pocket dimension. During this waiting period, strange things began happening. The consciousness fragments, even in their broken state, seemed to be trying to communicate. Gohan volunteered to attempt contact, believing he might understand his father's fractured mind better than anyone else since he had experienced similar isolation. Whis allowed Gohan to enter the pocket dimension under careful supervision. Inside, Gohan found himself facing the swirling mass of corrupted energy. It had no body, no form, but he could sense awareness within it. He spoke to it, calling out to his father's consciousness, wherever it might be hidden in the madness. For a long time, nothing happened. Then images began to flash through Gohan's mind. Memories from the hyperbolic time chamber. 3,000 years of white void and isolation. Watching himself as a child break mentally, the crushing weight of abandonment, the rage at perceived betrayal, the slow death of everything pure and good in Goku's heart. Gohan experienced all of it in minutes and nearly broke from the intensity. Whis pulled him out of the pocket dimension before permanent damage occurred. Gohan recovered but was shaken to his core. He had touched his father's fragmented consciousness and felt the full weight of the trauma. 3,000 years of isolation would break anyone, even the purest heart. The corruption was not Goku's fault. It was the inevitable result of impossible circumstances. This understanding made Gohan more determined to save whatever remained of his father. Finally, enough time passed that the Super Dragon Balls became active again. Whis and Vados gathered the 7 massive orbs, each as large as a planet, positioning them in space between Universe 6 and 7. The summoning required speaking the divine language that the dragon understood. Whis spoke the words, and Super Shenron appeared, his body so large that galaxies seemed small by comparison. The Eternal Dragon's voice echoed across space, asking what wish they desired. Gohan stepped forward to make the wish. He asked Super Shenron to purify the corrupted divine consciousness of Son Goku, removing all the madness and trauma while preserving the core of who his father used to be. The dragon's eyes glowed red as it processed this wish. Super Shenron explained that the corruption ran deep, integrated into every fragment of consciousness. Purifying it completely would remove much of the power Goku had gained, as the strength from 3,000 years of training was tied to the madness that drove it. The consciousness would be healed but weakened significantly. Gohan accepted this. He would rather have his father back as a normal person than have a corrupted god wandering reality. Super Shenron granted the wish. The corrupted energy in Whis' pocket dimension began to change. The red and black colors faded, replaced by pure white light. The fragments of consciousness merged back together, healing as they combined. The madness burned away. The trauma dissolved. The hatred and rage evaporated under the dragon's power. What remained was the essential core of who Goku had been before entering the hyperbolic time chamber that fateful day. A pure-hearted Saiyan who loved fighting, protected the innocent, and treasured his friends and family. But this consciousness had no body to return to. Goku Black's stolen body had been erased with the timeline. The original body no longer existed anywhere. They needed another solution if Goku was to truly return to life. Beerus suggested they simply let the purified consciousness pass on to other world where Goku could exist as a spirit. But Gohan refused to accept that his father should remain dead after everything he had suffered. Chi-Chi agreed, demanding they find a way to restore her husband fully. Whis considered the problem carefully. Creating a new body from nothing was beyond even the Super Dragon Ball's power at this point, as they had already granted one wish and would not be active again for a year. But there might be another option. When Frieza was resurrected years ago, he had been brought back piece by piece, even though his body was destroyed. If they used Earth's Dragon Balls, they might be able to resurrect Goku in a similar way. The challenge was that Goku had not technically died in the traditional sense. His body had been stolen and consciousness fragmented, but no death had occurred that the dragon could reverse. Old Kai had another suggestion from Otherworld. If they brought Goku's purified consciousness to King Yemma, the judge of the dead, and explained the situation, King Yemma might be willing to officially process Goku as deceased. Then they could use the Dragon Balls to resurrect him properly, with a new body. It was bending the rules significantly, but King Yemma owed Goku several favors for saving the universe multiple times. Whis agreed to bring the purified consciousness to Otherworld. The energy was placed in a containment vessel that Bulma had designed, keeping it stable during transport. Whis traveled to King Yemma's palace and explained everything that had happened. The giant Oni listened to the tale of isolation, corruption, body theft, and timeline erasure with growing disbelief. This was the most complicated case he had dealt with in millions of years. King Yemma thought carefully about the rules and regulations governing life and death. Technically, Goku's original death-fighting cell had been reversed when he was resurrected during the Buu Saga. His consciousness being separated from his body was not the same as death, but King Yemma decided to interpret the rules loosely in this case. He declared that Goku had experienced a form of death when Zamasu stole his body, as the separation of consciousness from physical form counted as a termination of life. Therefore, Goku could be officially marked as deceased and eligible for resurrection. The paperwork took several hours to process, but eventually King Yemma stamped the documents with approval. Goku's purified consciousness was now registered as a deceased soul awaiting resurrection. They returned to Earth where the Dragon Balls had been gathered. Bulma had collected all 7 over the past weeks in preparation. Gohan summoned Shenron, the eternal dragon appearing in the sky with his massive serpentine form. Gohan made the wish to resurrect his father, Son Goku, with a new body free from all corruption. Shenron's eyes glowed as the dragon accessed the purified consciousness that Whis held in the containment vessel. Energy flowed from the dragon into a single point on the ground. Light formed into a humanoid shape, building layer by layer, first bones, then organs, muscles, skin, and finally clothing. The light faded to reveal Goku standing there, looking exactly as he had before entering the hyperbolic time chamber over 7 years ago. He wore his orange gi, his hair stood up in its characteristic spiky style, and his eyes held the warmth and brightness that had been missing for so long. Goku blinked in confusion, looking around at the gathered Z fighters. He recognized everyone, but seemed lost. His last clear memory was entering the hyperbolic time chamber with Gohan to train for the Cell Games. Everything after that was gone, removed by the purification. The 3,000 years of isolation, the madness, the corruption, the time as a consciousness-wandering reality, none of it remained in his awareness. He smiled and waved, asking what everyone looked so serious about. Had he missed something important? Chi-Chi rushed forward and hugged him desperately, tears streaming down her face. Gohan joined the embrace, relief overwhelming him. Goten approached hesitantly, seeing his father in person for the first time. Goku looked at this boy who was clearly his son, but had no memory of him existing. Chi-Chi explained that Goten was born while Goku was gone, growing up during the 7 years of his absence. Vegeta stood apart from the emotional reunion, processing his own complicated feelings. Kakarot was back, but weakened. The purification had removed the godly power and 3,000 years of training, leaving him at roughly the same strength he had been during the Cell Games. The corrupted rival who had haunted them for years was gone, replaced by the original Goku who knew nothing of what his body and power had been used for. Vegeta was not sure if this was better or worse. At least the corrupted version had been strong. This restored Goku seemed almost pathetic by comparison. The Z fighters explained everything to Goku over the following hours. They told him about the door being destroyed, about being trapped for what his body experienced as 3,000 years. They described how his mind broke from isolation, and his son Gohan suffered the same fate. They explained how his consciousness was separated when Zamasu stole his body, how Goku Black destroyed an entire timeline, and how the corruption had finally been purified and he had been resurrected. Goku listened to all of this with growing horror. His body had been used to kill billions of people. His son had suffered 3,000 years of isolation because of him. The Z fighters had faced constant danger from his corrupted self. So much pain and death had resulted from that one accident in the hyperbolic time chamber. He fell to his knees, overwhelmed by guilt, even though none of it was his fault. Gohan knelt beside him and placed a hand on his shoulder. He explained that the real Goku had not done any of those things. The corruption was like a disease, and Zamasu had stolen what the disease created. The person responsible was Zamasu, not Goku. Chi-Chi agreed, telling her husband that what mattered was he was back now. They could be a family again. She had missed him terribly, living 7 years with only memories and the painful encounters with his corrupted form. Now they had a chance to start over. Goku stood up slowly, determination replacing the guilt on his face. He had been given a second chance at life, a rare opportunity to fix what had been broken. He would train properly this time, grow strong without corruption, and protect Earth the right way. He thanked everyone for not giving up on him, even when he was lost to madness. Piccolo stepped forward and pointed out that Goku was currently much weaker than most threats they faced. The purification had reset his power to pre-hyperbolic time chamber levels. He would need serious training to catch up to where Vegeta had reached with Whis' guidance. Goku nodded, understanding this completely. He asked Vegeta if he could also train with Whis, wanting to learn proper godly ki control without corruption. Vegeta initially refused, not wanting to share his angel instructor. But Whis appeared and solved the problem by offering to train both Saiyans, just as he had in other timelines. The angel found it more efficient to teach them together, as their rivalry pushed both to improve faster. Life began to return to normal, though nothing would ever be quite the same. Goku trained with Vegeta, under Whis' guidance, on Beerus' planet. He achieved Super Saiyan God through proper ritual, and then Super Saiyan Blue through training, growing stronger without any corruption involved. The process took months of hard work, but Goku enjoyed every moment. This was the training he loved, the pure challenge of improving himself without madness driving him. Gohan returned to his scholarly work, but maintained his training schedule, never wanting to be helpless again. He worked on regaining his ultimate form through meditation and exercise. Chi-Chi raised Goten while adjusting to having her husband back. It was strange after 7 years of being essentially a widow. Goku had no memory of Goten's birth or childhood, making their relationship awkward at first. But Goku's natural warmth and enthusiasm helped bridge the gap. He spent time with his younger son, teaching him techniques and bonding through training. The universe slowly recovered from the scars left by recent events. The future timeline that had been erased remained gone forever, but Future Trunks sent word through the time machine that he was doing well in the alternate timeline. That world's people had accepted him and the survivors, giving them a new home. Zamasu's corruption had been purified from reality, the fragments no longer causing disturbances. Earth rebuilt the cities damaged during various battles. Normal people went about their lives never knowing how close they had come to extinction multiple times. The Z-Fighters remained vigilant, knowing that new threats would always emerge, but now they faced those threats with their strongest warrior restored to his true self, uncorrupted and whole. One evening, Goku stood on a mountain overlooking the city where he had grown up. The sun set behind him, painting the sky in orange and red. He thought about everything he had lost, the memories of 3,000 years that were gone forever. Part of him wondered what kind of person that corruption had turned him into, but another part was grateful he did not remember. That trauma would have broken him permanently if allowed to remain. The purification had given him a clean slate, a chance to be the hero he had always wanted to be. Vegeta landed beside him, crossing his arms and looking out at the same view. The prince admitted grudgingly that having Kakarot back, even in a weakened state, was better than dealing with that corrupted version. At least now they could have proper rivalries and push each other to improve without worrying about madness. Goku smiled and agreed. This was what he wanted. Friendly competition and the chance to protect people he cared about. The two Saiyans stood together in comfortable silence as night fell. Tomorrow they would return to training with Whis. Future tournaments and threats awaited them, including the Tournament of Power that would eventually bring together fighters from 8 universes. But those challenges would be faced by the true Goku, the pure-hearted Saiyan, who fought for joy rather than rage. The corruption was gone. The madness was purified. The hero of Earth had finally come home. And though he had no memory of those 3,000 years of isolation that had broken him, the lessons remained for those who had witnessed it. They understood now that even the strongest mind could shatter under impossible circumstances. They knew that isolation could corrupt even the purest heart, and they were grateful that through divine intervention and the power of wishes, they had been given the chance to restore what was lost. Chi-Chi prepared dinner for her family, calling everyone to the table. Goku and Goten arrived together, the father teaching his son a new fighting technique. Gohan came from his study, where he had been reading. They sat together, a family reunited after 7 years of pain and separation. Goku ate enthusiastically, his legendary appetite causing Chi-Chi to scold him about table manners, but she smiled while doing it, happy to have this problem again. This was normal. This was how things should be. The nightmare of the corrupted Saiyan was over. The story of isolation and madness had reached its conclusion. And though the scars remained for those who had lived through it, life continued forward. The Z-Fighters would face new challenges, achieve new transformations, and protect their universe from threats beyond imagination. But they would do it together, with their strongest warrior fighting beside them rather than against them. The corruption that had haunted them for years was finally, completely, gone. Earth's greatest defender had returned, and this time, he would never be abandoned to isolation again. If you enjoyed this complete timeline rewrite, make sure to subscribe and I'll see you in the next video.